Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto says that 500,000 job opportunities for Kenyans to work abroad await on the horizon from 4 countries. Speaking in Laikipia County, Ruto said that the journey had begun with the first group expected to leave the country for Saudi Arabia this week.
Mimi nimezunguka duniani kote, nimepanga ajira ya vijana wetu. Tuko na nafasi 500,000, 500,000 ya Wakenya kwenda kufanya kazi nje ya Kenya. Safari hiyo inaanza wiki hii. The first 3,500 Kenyans this week we have advertised wakwenda kufanya kazi Saudia. Tumepanga wakwenda Israel, tumepanga wakwenda Marekani, tumepanga wakwenda Ujerumani ili waende watoe madola watuletee hapa Kenya.
He further urged Kenyan youth to take advantage of the opportunities each time the government advertises them.
Mnasema tupange ajira ya vijana wetu ama mnataka vijana wetu wakae tu hapa madukani? Si tupange ajira ya hawa vijana, na nyinyi vijana mko tayari? Si tulisema wera ni wera, ya mjengo ikipatikana si mtafanya, ya kompyuta ikipatikana si mtafanya, ya kusafiri kwenda nje si ikipatikana mtafanya. Basi hiyo ndio maneno mimi niko naye kwenu, kwa sababu hii Kenya haiwezi kubadilika hivi, lazima ibadilishwe.
State spokesperson Hussein Mohammed has said that there will be 250,000 jobs in Germany, 30,000 agricultural jobs in Israel, with 3,000 available by March this year. The Council of Governors have rejected the recommendations of the Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms report, saying their input was omitted in the final report. Led by Chairperson of the committee, Governor Eric Mutai, they further announced that they've withdrawn their participation from any processes that seeks to legislate the recommendations contained in the report.
We have collectively agreed to the following. Number one, the Council of Governors categorically does not agree and rejects the recommendations in entirety to the extent that they undermine the basic structure and framework of the Constitution. Number two, the Council of Governors hereby withdraws its participation from any process that seeks to legislate the recommendations contained in the report.
We as a country and as the COG have made tremendous progress. What you see in ECD today is what has been done by the governors themselves.
The Court of Appeal will Friday next week rule on whether it will suspend an order that stopped the implementation of the Social Health Insurance Act of 2023. Court of Appeal judges Patrick Kyage, Pauline Nyamwe and Ngenya Macharia, however, declined to issue any interim relief pending the ruling as had been sought by Health CS Susan Nahumicha. Through Senior Counsel Fred Ngatia, the CS had urged the court to consider issuing temporary reliefs as they retire to write their rulings to alleviate the burden being experienced by patients countrywide owing to the effect the order has had. President William Ruto has continued to accuse the Judiciary of being used to curtail the government's project.
Kuna watu wengine atiwampeleka hiyo mambo kotini, ati wanataka huyu mwananchi wa chini aendelee kulipa 500, na wale wameenda kotini ni watu wezi na wakora ambao wanaiba pesa kwa NHIF, na mimi nawajua, na mimi nimewaambia tayari hii pesa hamutaiba tena, whatever it takes.
This is a legal battle pitting the government and litigants over public participation across the 12 counties on Affordable Housing Bill 2023 is expected now. This as National Assembly Majority Leader Kibwana Ichung'wah has come out to defend the House against claims of defying court orders in its quest to continue conducting public participation across 12 counties on the Affordable Housing Bill of 2023. Now, the forums set to be presided over by the National Assembly's Finance and Planning Committee and the Housing Committee. The High Court in Kisumu last month issued conservatory orders stopping public participation of the bill pending further directions after the matter is determined later this month. According to MP Ichung'wah, the House Finance and Finance Committees invited the public to submit their memoranda on the bill in a notice published on print media on December 19th, 2023. The Kikuyu MP stated that the order by the Kisumu High Court issued on the same day applied only to conducting public participation in the manner indicated in the said notice published on print media. And Police Constable Nicholas Musyoka, who shot and killed 2 people in a bar fight in Nakuru, will remain in police custody for 7 more days. Justice Samuel Moshoshi also directed the probation department to prepare a pre-bail report that will help the court determine the bail terms for the officer's release. This even comes as the ODPP has preferred murder charges against him after IPOA conducted an independent and comprehensive investigation. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
102.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
The man who looks at a beautiful girl and doesn't talk to her will end up serving lunch at her wedding.
Aya, City, do like that.
My father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man?
Ameua panya.
Small mammal, big mammal.
Mtu atamshinda. I mean, I don't understand. What are they
How
saying?
are we comparison? I mean, you kill a mouse.
What are they saying?
What they're saying is, my father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man? Name, surprise. Someone's name.
The name surprised you?
No, the name is surprise.
No, what am I saying? I'm from Nigeria, man. I met somebody called I Believe. So I was like, your name is I Believe? Yes, my name is I Believe. But that's the short form. I said, excuse me? I said, yes, my name is I Believe. So what's the full name? I believe in the goodness of
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Revenge is for children. It's for kids. When you grow up, you realize the best revenge you can take on somebody is to ignore them.
I'm just new in politics. It is not everybody's cup of tea. That's why some people come in one term and that's it for them.
Political parties in this country do not have ideologies, whether luring or otherwise.
And that is the effect of corruption.
Any time an offense occurs anywhere in the country, it is the job of the Inspector General to look into it. Whether it's corruption, whether it's murder, whether it's petty, that is his job.
If we have chosen to be a corrupt nation, then we produce corrupt leaders. Everything then becomes chaotic that you cannot be able to change a nation.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
This is one of the hottest show that we can ever miss in the morning, and it's a show that really gives a real situation in the Situation Room.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you guys so much. Nduthai, nice meeting you. Even beautiful in person more than in photos.
Say that again. Character is like pregnancy. You cannot hide it. You know, people hiding here and there, you know, but after 2-3 months, 5 months, now you realize, so that is why the attitude that you were showing us, you're pregnant.
It's like what my grandmother would say. You cannot pickpocket a naked man.
How's that? It's communal, isn't it?
No comment.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning and welcome to Thursday. So the heavens have opened and we know that means it's going to be a slowdown of stuff as we're getting into the day. Let's take a look at Mombasa Road where the recarpeting is being done, and so it's going to slow down traffic. It's inbound and it's coming in just towards Kibwana. They should be wrapping up activity as it took place overnight and then going out towards the CBD, but it's going to slow down a little bit because as the trucks wrap up, early morning traffic is being hampered because of that. So watch out, Mombasa Road, heading out towards the city, slowing down a bit because of the recarpeting taking place every morning kind of thing. But it shouldn't last for too long. Let's take a look at Haile Selassie. In and outbound traffic has already started this Thursday. It looks all right on Landis, at least for now. Coming off Jogo Road, you're fine. Uhuru Highway through and through. The trickle of traffic has begun this Thursday. If you're coming in from North Airport Road, in from Kibwana, you should be all right. Nothing much happening there. Yes, and there indeed is that traffic on Mombasa Road, and it's already slowing things down as you get towards Kibwana. Folks are trying to escape through towards North Airport Road, all in time. We'll look at it as we get closer to traffic hour. We'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X and keep things moving this Thursday.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
First Thursday of 2024, is it? It's the second.
Second.
Yeah, it's a first for us.
Okay, oh, for us it's the first. That is absolutely true.
Yeah. Otherwise?
Fit kabisa.
Yeah. Mambo iko fresh.
Yes.
Mambo ni poa. Siuseme yes.
Yes.
Anasema mambo kwake imechemuka.
Ndiyo sasa.
Imechemuka. Mambo imechemuka.
Moto.
Imechemuka.
Why?
Kimemramba.
Nini?
Anacho kipigana nacho hakifahamu. Kimemramba.
Sasa tukusaidia aje?
Sasa tumuombe tu.
Hebu niko na pesa mob hapa.
Very good. Very good. Usigawie mtu.
61 bob.
Usigawie mtu. Usigawie mtu. Lakini lipa madeni.
Nimeweka.
Bwana Muga?
Yes, please.
You're okay?
I am very well, thank you.
Very good. Very good.
So that's done a thing, hasn't it?
Yes. Unaamka, it's cold. Unalala, it's hot. Hawajui.
You know, it hasn't been raining for a while. When you wake up at those ungodly hours, we wake up.
Yes.
And there's this pitter-patter of rain. You're a bit confused. You wonder what on earth is that?
I'm not even confused. I'm very sure of what I want at that point. Is to not leave where I am. I'm not confused at all.
Sorry, that's a strange sound.
Yeah, I like it very much.
It's a pleasant sound, but you see, it's odd how our mind associates sound with the time and space and place. So you're thinking, but that's an odd sound at this time, isn't it? And the reason is because it has been there for a while and then it's disappeared. Now it's come back again. Anyway, it is good.
Anyway, senior.
Anyway, it is good.
Anyway, tell me, what do you call this pose?
Akimbo.
Akimbo is not this.
See, it can also be akimbo.
A what?
Arms akimbo. So when you have your arms around you.
No, I'm not speaking
waist.
native language here, just so that you understand.
I get it.
So what is this? When you have your arms
crossed against your chest.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a term for it.
There's a term for it, huh?
Yes, there is. I'm trying to remember.
I
will remember.
According to
ask
Google. We can ask
Google.
Mr.
Google. Google. Because all the guests we'll be hosting today have their photos like that.
They're standing with Google.
They're sitting like that with their arms like that. Faith Odhiambo, the Vice President of the Law Society of Kenya, will be joining us at 7 a.m. to talk about the judiciary, why the LSK is calling for nationwide protests against the President's statements on the judiciary. And that's at 7 a.m. At 8 a.m., we'll be joined by Kibwana, the former governor of Makueni County. Kibwana is he senior counsel? Kibwana is senior counsel, isn't he?
I'm not. Him, I think, he would be most senior.
I think Professor Kibwana is senior counsel.
He should be.
At least.
If all these senior counsels and others are seniors and he taught them, how can he not be senior counsel? Or is it something that you need to do before you become senior counsel?
I wonder.
And if he taught these people, then what is this thing that he hasn't done?
He's the one who's taught them.
All these senior counsel and then some.
Then I will not be senior.
Cancellation.
So Kibwana will be joining us at 8 a.m. He knows this constitution very, 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 very well. He was involved in the conversations around writing a new constitution for the country. He was the president's legal affairs and constitutional affairs advisor, Mwai Kibaki, when we were going into the 2010 referendum. He knows a lot about the Constitution. Now we have issues about the interdependence and independence of the three arms of government and all those things, right? So he'll come, we'll talk about that. What does our law say? Necessarily.
What does the Constitution say?
Yeah. Who does what, when, where?
And how?
And how. So those two conversations, 7 and 8. And then at 9, we'll move into, so it's a new year, it's business. There's something called asset leasing. Have you heard about it?
Yes, I have.
What's it?
It is you go to a bank or a financial institution and you want to buy something. Okay? You are given option. Like say, for instance, you go to one of these organizations that sell motor vehicles.
Yes.
And you want to have the use of the vehicle, but perhaps you don't have the money to buy. Okay? So either you come to an understanding where you pay a certain amount and you have the use of the vehicle for a period of time, or if you want to purchase it, they also come up with a certain arrangement that allows you to pay in installments over a period of time. Yes.
So in the meantime, you don't own it?
No, it's not yours.
You've leased it?
You've leased it.
Okay.
And depending on the agreement, even when you sign on the dotted line, the ownership, the primary ownership will be with the institution that has, your name will be there as an interested party, but the primary ownership will be on the institution that has made it possible for you to have. That particular, whatever it is that you wanted.
Okay.
Yes.
So then there's another angle to it where you actually don't even need an intermediary called a financial institution, the bank. That somebody who leases, like the way the police lease vehicles from some of these companies. So the vehicle is owned by company X. It's just in use by the police, being used by the police. The company is in charge of its maintenance, service, everything. Ikitoboka tire, utarudishia kampuni wanaweka tire ingine. Then now it moves again away from that into, you're running a studio like this, okay? You don't need to own any of these things. You lease them from a company that then owns. Can you imagine? As you're running a hotel,
plug and play.
Your job as a hotel is the service. It's not the beds or the chairs or those ones you lease. You lease beds, you lease chairs, you lease
linen,
the linen, you lease all those things. You offer the service.
Do you remember the Christmas period? We had a gentleman here who does the same thing with the office space.
Yes. Yes.
So all you do is present yourself.
Yep.
Yes.
You do the job.
And the service.
What's your core? My core is hospitality. What's hospitality? Hospitality is receive guests, treat guests well, make sure that they're comfortable, they're eating. That doesn't mean that you must go and buy linen.
No.
Or that you must go and buy a bed. Apparently it's a big thing now in the country. So we'll be joined by somebody at 9 a.m. to explain these things to us. He's an expert on asset leasing finance. His name is Bogonko Bosire Bogonko. He joins us at 9 a.m. Okay?
So that thing is called crossed arms.
Crossed arms?
It's the most common body language gesture.
Yeah. And what does it mean?
And it's a classic...
I do this quite a bit.
You do it a lot, actually, Eric. It's a classic gesture of defensiveness.
This is defense.
So it's
attacking while defending.
And this defensiveness manifests as discomfort, uneasiness, shyness, or insecurity. Look at both of them. So when you cross your arms, there's something
I'm shy.
You're shy. You cross your arms and there's something that you're trying to defend.
You're trying to hide something.
Or hide.
That is a classical explanation.
Yeah.
But there's also comfort.
There's mostly the comfort.
Your comfort. So you're comfortable, rather.
I'll give you an example.
You're comfortable, so you're just like this. You're not hiding anything. It's not you're being.
There's an ease that this provides. There's a comfort. Look, I, for instance, like sitting
like that.
Yes, like this.
Yes,
now,
you do.
Classically, you'll be told
face palm.
Kabisa hii iko vitu mingi nasumbua umze kichwa. Okay? Yes, na kuna kitu kuna hesabu imekataa kuingia. And yet, if you ask me, I'll tell you this is very comfortable. So, yes, there's a classical explanation that they give, but
there's also
usually
reality.
Yes, exactly.
20 after 6. Tell us about the weather. Are you online? Do like that. We'll be doing like that.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with Spice
A rainy
FM.
morning in Nairobi, 16 degrees. We'll see highs of 24 and lows of 15. It's cloudy at 16 with a chance of rain in Nakuru with highs of 25. The showers are coming down in Nyeri at 15 and going to highs of 25 through Thursday. 14 and rainy in Eldoret, highs of 23 and lows of 12. Into Mombasa, it's cloudy at 25 with highs of 32, and we're likely to see rain in Malindi as well, where it's 26. It'll go to highs of 32. Kisumu this morning is cloudy at 20, highs of 27. And at 18, Kakamega is partly cloudy, highs of 28 and lows of 17. Looking out into Kampala, mostly cloudy conditions with rain coming in later, highs of 27 and lows of 20. And the forecast for Dar es Salaam is rain through the day. It's currently light rain showers at 27 with highs of 30. Cloudy skies in Johannesburg at 16 with highs of 26, and Mogadishu is partly sunny at 24 with highs of 32. 9 degrees and partly cloudy in Addis Ababa with highs of 25. It's a clear morning in Lagos at 26, highs of 33. Kinshasa is cloudy at 24. We'll see highs of 29. Thursday afternoon is sunny at 5 degrees in Beijing. It'll go to highs of 9 and lows of -6. Paris -2 and mostly cloudy. Snowstorms afoot with highs of 3 and lows of -2. 1 degree in mostly cloudy London, highs of 6. And Wednesday night in New York is cloudy at 6. Coming into Thursday, highs of 10 and lows of 3.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Who has tuned in here, who's told us, Francis Gidaka, who is the farmer, big rice farmer in Mwea, says good morning to you guys.
Baraka. Baraka Mills.
Akopale. Alfanya ile kazi. Kaiser Obed, the future governor of Nyamira County, is online as well. Rutherford Maganga. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. Rutherford.
Is it O or U?
You.
Rutherford.
And if it is O?
Rutherford.
And if it is?
You. Ruther.
I'd rather you tell me.
Oh, really?
Who else?
Okay, R has woken up with violence this morning. Ile pesa ya KQ, did Nigeria pay back? No.
By the way.
Please leave us alone. Moving on swiftly. Good morning, Wanainchi, he says. R, are you female or male? Who do you identify as? R.
Them, they.
Tell us. Sabit Yusuf says, good morning, Indu City, Eric and Edna. Good morning, good people, says Zana Zui. Don Sabwa has come again with his wahala. Good morning, City, Eric, Indu, Edna, and Diego. Affordable housing, not cheap again. Was it cheap before? Cheap in Malawi, we say, hey, Zotsika Mtengo. City. City say, Zotsika Mtengo.
Zotsika Mtengo.
So, Maramoja taxis are Zotsika Mtengo.
You know, Don is making up this language as he goes along.
I think so.
And I also think, now that is in Malawi, he's rediscovering his language.
You know what he's doing? So when I was young,
yes.
I had this imaginary language. I understood it. If you didn't, that's your problem. But I will speak to you in it anyway. And I will expect an answer. I think that's what Don is doing.
No, Don has probably assembled some village mates of his to tell them, I know this language. You see, there are people here who can repeat and they know.
They know. Even them.
Don, we've got you. Usijali.
We see you, Don.
Just come up with more and more creations of the language. It's fine.
Don is like that sign language interpreter during Mandela's funeral.
During Mandela's funeral.
Yep.
Signing your own things. My people from the Pan-African nation say good morning, Nairobi. Simon Indiatsi says good morning. Habari zenu sisi tuko tu. Deep State, good morning. It says your interview yesterday with CS Liwe Liwalo was a great masterpiece. Okay, well, thank you for that. Josephat Moiruri says good morning. Always good to hear your voices. Wishing you a good day, my good people. Now, Apenda, Asante Sana, and Gore. We must see a picture of these beautiful hills of Saboti. Show us, won't you? Rogers Nyange says good morning, tuned in from Taita. Abuto Kamla says good morning, Ndu Eric CT. Is the Kiwi promotion only applicable to black shoes? You've only seen the starburst on the black tan since last year.
He has got a valid point.
Yeah.
We'll tell him
the starburst is only on the...
but he said he's seen it on the dark tan.
Yes.
He's been looking for a starburst on the dark tan since last year, and he's not seen it. He's only seen it on the black. Tutauliza. That one we will ask. Agri Momanyi says, good morning this Thursday. Vesh Musanga is also tuned in and says, Happy New Year from Nairobi. Jeffrey Mogaka says, good morning, people. Loi tok tok iko locked. Edna Apera salamu za 30.
Chukua.
What's 30? 30? Or I'm asking. I don't know.
Nizanguvu.
Oh, salamu za 30. Edna.
Yes.
Jennifer Tenyi says, good morning, Ndu, Eric, and Charles. Our president reminds me of King Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, now, Nebuchadnezzar was a prolific character. You need to tell us what exactly about Nebuchadnezzar reminds you of your president, please.
Okay.
Soulful says, UAE loves you. Well, we too love the UAE. Good morning, CT Eric. Warm greetings. Sir George is tuned in from Manchester. Robert Mbogo is here. Abito, the lady, says, good morning. Kisumu Dala is representative. You have 39 shillings. I have 61. Could we top it up to give one? Very good. Eric, says, you give me 39 bob. With my 61, I'll have 100. Lady Abito, I like you. You specifically...
But she's the one who has 39
bob. No. She said, Kisumu Dala representing. Eric, I have 39. Can we top it up to give? So you give me, then she'll send you 39 bob. I don't know. Karanja J here says, I wake up in the beautiful city of Tatu. Amos Hissa is also tuned in this morning. Very, very many people waking up said, yes, the psychological posture of defense is what you people are doing. Call it what you want. Good morning, Ndu, and the guys from Minnesota. Choti Eddie, hey, good to see you, man. Tuning from Koru, and he says it is very cold in Koru. Very cold. It's 18 degrees. What? Very, very cold.
Guy.
That's very interesting about when you say, the way you pronounced it, people say Koru. When you say Koru, the meaning changes.
What does it change to?
It changes to your place.
My Koru? Koru is your place.
Koru is
that place.
Is that place. Voilà.
Luo is a tonal language.
Intonation, very interesting.
Yes, so
how do you say my place is Koru?
My place is Koru.
Koru?
No. Then you make it my home. Then you bring in the word Dala.
Okay.
Yes. Or our place, Korwa. Yes.
Their place?
Korgi.
Korgi.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. R has told us now he identifies as male from Iceland, originally from Kajiado. So.
Very good.
Very good. Coco is also tuned in this morning, tuned in from Stockholm, and says, keep up the good work. Patrick Mugo is here. Peter M is tuned in from Addis. Yay, one of my favorite cities. Dominic Abuga says, good morning, guys, from Muranga County. Everybody is here. Asanteni sana for joining us. Karibu.
Haya, City. Fanya namna hiyo.
I will do so. Hata matumbo ni nyama.
Hiyo si medali bana.
I am telling you.
This guy
has become like Eddie. Like Don Sabwa. Don Sabwa.
Yeah, umeandika ni sawa. Watu wakituambia City ni binadamu. That doesn't mean that it's now it's a proverb.
A frog doesn't have feathers. Yeah, we know.
Hata matumbo ni nyama.
Actually,
hiyo si medali bana.
Very specific reason why I chose this, because
Malenge ni mboga.
Yes. Yes.
Hapana.
Maembe ni matunda.
Hapana.
Simba ni mnyama.
Yeah, bas.
Hapana.
Morobeni ni mti. Yes. There's a reason why I knew, as we say, the obviousity of this. You see, now, let's bring in this debate of what really constitutes a proverb. And why do people state things which are patently obvious and claim that they are proverbs or saying?
Because there's a need to.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Yes. And why matumbo ni nyama? Because most people feel when they offer thank you so much.
Yeah, that's true.
What's the difference between proverbs and wise sayings?
There's hardly any.
A proverb is a wise saying.
Yes. Yes. Because it is a lower. Most people consider offers to, yes.
Matumbo ni nyama.
Kuna wengine watakwambia. Kuna wengine watakwambia matumbo si nyama, ni takataka.
Hao ni dynasty. Hao si wahenga.
Tribes, they're considered a lower type of food. And when you're told the nyama, it means, look, it's food, and it's same category of food as your beloved so-called meat.
Well, look, it really also depends on how somebody cooks it.
It requires, forget cooking, cleaning, then cooking. It's not something you just sort of like throw
Toss
into the
about
pan,
in the pan.
and then you
no.
Yes. So
Matumani?
Nyama.
Thank you.
Hiyo medali ni sawa tu, lakini sawa tu.
Wajua,
it's 6:30. Tell us about traffic, then we'll look at the headlines.
Okay, so traffic on Mombasa Road this morning, it's not usual at this time, but the recarpeting of the road is being done for the length and breadth of Mombasa Road, the lower road as it were. So that's going to be a bit of a hiccup. It's supposed to be done at night, but yeah, maybe not today. And also the rain came down at some point, so that slows things down a little bit. So that traffic inbound is going all the way from just before the SGR toll station out towards Kibwana. So it's going to be slow, but you'll get out of it in no time. Fingers crossed, knock on wood type of thing. On the Thika Superhighway, traffic has not yet started. Probably will not see too much of that today. It is raining, so please, folks, be careful. Don't get into any puddles if you don't know and then also slow it down just a little bit because the roads are slippery. Pangani at the underpass, we're already starting to see movement here. And then also a bit of a hold up as well. Coming out of Westlands, you're sure to be all right. For now, we will see movement on James Gishuru already starting to build up. Let's talk SpiceFM, KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Front page of the Standard of the Nation.
KCSC. Where did 175,000 students go? That's the question. In 2020, over 1 million students joined Form 1 under Uhuru's administration, 100% transition from primary to secondary school. That was the policy. But the just released KCSE examination results show that only slightly under 900,000 students sat their tests. Okay? Now, 1 million minus 900,000 thereabouts is about 100,000, but now this number is telling us 175,000. Where did they go over the last 4 years? It's a question. It's a big one. And we'll look at the policies and the execution in that story. Again, insisting on the fall of academic giants, with the KCSE results showing that academic giants who've earned their stripes over time seem to have fallen off the radar. And the question is, where did they go? Now, remember the presser that we saw a couple of days ago with members of parliament led by Radiede MP Atienda Omolo, who said, look, man, we have not received money. Where is it? Well, Treasury now has answered Amolo's question, and they say there's a cash crunch, Bwana. Kuna pesa, that's why you've not received NCD. F. It's funny.
Very.
Yeah. So ODM is doing some shaking up, and this time they're shaking the IEBC, and they're saying, and it's not shaking in a good way. The party disbands its National Election Board, hands over the role to a two-tier election management system at the county and national levels. So the elections body we're talking about is their own as a party. All right? So those are the big ones that we're looking at. We'll look into the details of that on the front page of the Nation today. More pain as NSF rates set to go up. Yawa. Hey. As the first year of implementing the NSSF Act 2013 lapses this month, the Ministry of Labour and the fund are yet to inform employers and employees about how the next level of new hire deductions is to be arrived at in the graduated plan that will eventually take away 6% of workers' salaries. So just when you thought we were neck deep in the water, the thing is about to go over your head. There's more money coming, or rather there's more money to be taken from you. The court is to rule on the rollout of the shift plan. You wonder what that is. Social Health Insurance Fund. The state wants the order suspending the law lifted. We don't know what that's going to be. We saw another ruling by the courts yesterday. It now becomes game proper. Governors fight the states over ECDE takeover. We'll look at that. It's another education issue, and governors say they want their thing.
Mm-hmm.
In the race for 2027, did you know that the race has started? The gun has blasted. Boom, let's go. Raila to craft a new coalition for 2027, says Opiyo Wandayi. National Assembly Minority Leader Opiyo Wandayi, in a wide-ranging interview, reveals that his boss, Azimio leader Raila Odinga, is planning ahead of the next election. Now, Bedlam. You know what a Bedlam is? Or you know what Bedlam is?
Chaos.
It's chaos. And Trump is warning of Bedlam. If he's put on trial, he has taken on the stance of, I will grant you the gift of sight, as CT would say. Mukijaribu kunipeleka kotini, utaniona. That's what he's saying. On the back page of The Nation, September set to become Creative Industry Month. Alarm? Yeah. Governors want to fight the state for ECDEs. You know, previously, it's been a national function of this education level. Governors say they want it. Let's see.
Business Daily. So you've had that rumor. It's not a rumor, it's a true thing. That the government is planning to impose a 5% withholding tax on farm produce sold through cooperatives.
Cabbage.
The government is eyeing at least 14.3 billion shillings in additional revenue through that move. This, as agriculture experts fear, this new tax measure, which is aimed at widening the tax base, is likely to be counterproductive because it could push farmers to informal channels for selling their produce directly to consumers rather than using cooperatives. So here has been a government saying, okay, let's do cooperatives. Remember the president's advisor on food security came and told us, cooperatives are the way to go. So you use cooperatives to support farmers on subsidies. You use cooperatives to support farmers on offtake of produce, right? And linkages to the market. Now, those cooperatives are the ones that are also going to be used to get 5% withholding tax from farmers. Farmers are not going to go to those cooperatives. They will say, cooperative ne do. Sell directly. Directly. Higher. CBK warns of mobile money fraud risk on unverified SIM cards. The CBK is warning mobile money service providers and banks of the rising risk of fraud from remote registration of customers. It says in a circular that virtual onboarding of customers was denying mobile money players, including Safaricom, Airtel and Telcom, a chance to verify that the people sending and receiving money are the same ones that registered on their platforms. So what do they want them to do? The regulator reminded financial institutions to tighten their anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing checks to reduce the risks. So they want you to go and register at Safaricom for your SIM card. Hii mambo as you could register remotely or attack CBK. Or attack pattern. Power prices in January are set to increase 16.5% because of fuel forex charges. This is after the energy regulator raised fuel and foreign exchange charges on the commodity in what is set to slow down the easing of the cost of living recorded in recent months. So stima inapanda by 16%. Imwesi. Sawa. Kenya Power settles 35 billion power purchase debt. And people who sell mishiri to the UK. Mishiri. You know mishiri?
No.
French beans.
Mishiri.
Yes.
It's French beans.
Yes.
Okay.
What do you want me to call it?
No, I don't know.
Faraja.
I'm okay. It's cool.
If
that's what y'all have decided, it's all right.
Okay. And then what? And minji is what?
It's peas.
It's peas.
That's what it's called.
Beans.
That means mishiri. The other one is minji.
Minji.
And black beans are called.
Black beans are called.
I'm told are very good for lactating mothers.
They're called
Jahe.
Jahe. That's one.
Okay, my vocabulary has increased.
Now, those people who export to the UK, they are making. If you know someone, just go and tell them. Nunua chai bwana. You know why?
Be like your guys who brought watermelon. Okay, sorry. Continue.
You know why? Because the pound is now over 200 shillings. So Exporters to the UK are reaping big because the official shilling exchange rate against the British pound has crossed the 200 shilling mark.
So how are exporters benefiting?
Because they export and they earn in pounds.
Yeah.
They're earning in pounds. So when they bring the money back here, we always have 100 pounds. 100 pounds now is earning you more shillings than it was earning you 10 months ago.
Okay.
No.
Then I've got it. Meaning your beans already pegged to the pound. So the pound now fetches more shillings.
Yes.
Yep.
So even if you sell it at the same poundage you were selling it before,
it's now giving you more shillings.
The shilling edge is more.
Yes.
I got it.
Maona?
You may get it.
So the Business Daily has chosen to focus on the positive of the weakening shilling. Tell us about the star, please.
Top right-hand corner, until green, leading by example. MP Dean D. Nyoro, I'm sure it's pronounced differently, how I remodeled NG CDF usage to transform Kiharu. I've heard from people from this place that this man has performed wonders. And not one person, not two, not three, a number. Diverse. You have a conversation, I come from Puranga. Where do you come from, Kiharu? Oh, really? I've heard, is it true? Oh, yes, in fact. And they continue. I've even heard it from people in neighboring constituencies. So what this gentleman seems to have done, he seems to have gotten a formula right. Well done, Mheshimiwa. Well done. Right. Then, Karua-Kalonzo feud exposes turmoil in Azimio. Nonsense. This is the dance that we hear all the time. So and so has disagreed with so and so. The other day, did we not see a picture of Jimmy Wanjigi and Raila Odinga? Ostensibly and apparently, some 2 years ago, they disagreed. Okay? Somebody said what? Somebody called somebody this, somebody then they parted ways. Now, they ate lunch at an unspecified place, and after they had lunch, they shook hands. And now, anyway, politicians will do their thing. Monster who defiled 9 girls jailed for 30 years.
9?
Per girl.
9 girls.
30 per charge.
I will read that story, City.
I have to read this one.
Yeah.
A man who lured and defiled. This is a horror story. 9 girls aged between 3 and 8 years.
What?
A man who lured and defiled 9 girls aged between 3 and 8 years for 6 months in 2010, threatening to kill them if they even told anyone, will serve 30 years in place of a life sentence. Kefa Wanongo was a guard at the Maranatha Compassion Center in Kilgoris, where he committed the offense against the children.
An 8-year-old is a baby.
Home.
An 8-year-old is a baby. I don't even want to talk about a 3-year-old.
That's a toddler.
Yeah.
I love they're in a children's home.
Yes, and this guy is the guard.
They're already vulnerable.
Yes, that's why they're in that home.
Oh my!
This guy should just have been killed. It's not at the. I mean, you can send him to a mental facility if you so wish.
Not enough.
Yeah, but while he's there, perhaps he let him not come back. But how do you allow such a person back into society? How?
No, to continue breathing.
This is beyond monstrous.
So why? Instead of life in prison, he gets 30, or is it?
Is it 30 per child?
Life sentence. What?
Instead of a life sentence, he gets 30 years.
Why? Is it a magistrate or judge?
This one, let me just go to the story.
What did the court say? What was the reason?
Okay. This is what happens. Appeal judges quash lower court's imposition of 9 licenses run concurrently. Okay.
9 life sentences.
Yes.
Okay. That was the initial sentencing.
Yes, and
he appealed.
Yes.
I read the story, please.
We
have time.
We have time. Thank you very much. In 4 of the instances, the children were playing at the center when he lured them to his house, where he forced them to have sexual intercourse with him. In the other 5 instances, court papers say the defilement occurred in a nearby bush. Wanongo found the girls either playing or running errands, and he forcibly held them by the hand and dragged them to a bush where he defiled them. In all instances, the appellant ignores the survivors' pleas that they were in a lot of pain. In all the cases, he also warned them not to report his nefarious act lest he killed them. The man was arraigned at the senior magistrate court, where he was slapped with a life sentence for each of the 9 charges. The life sentence were to run concurrently. At the trial, Wanogo defended himself by claiming that he had been bewitched to commit the offences, and he pleaded for leniency and forgiveness. There was a force put in me by a witch doctor. I seek to be prayed for and to get deliverance. I pray to be forgiven. Once he was handed the punishment, the convict appealed to the High Court, complaining that the conviction and the sentence but was not successful. The High Court held that the law of punishment of sexual offences gives strict and inflexible sentences that judges must hand to convicts. The judge said, given this fact, his hands were tied, and when it came to sentencing, a convicted sexual offender, Wanogo, then approached the Court of Appeal, where his complaint was initially but both the conviction and the sentence, but he later abandoned the campaign against the conviction, only asking for the court to do away with the sentence. Yes. He complained that the 9 life sentences running concurrently were excessive and unnecessarily harsh to him. What is it?
Okay. What did the appeal judges say?
He also complained that the fact that the lower courts were faced with a rigid sentencing regime against mandatory sentences made the punishment unconstitutional. Okay. The sentence was unconstitutional and discriminatory because the sentencing court was not permitted by virtue of the mandatory minimum sentence to take into consideration his mitigation. The appeal reads. Wanogo also argued that he deserved to be freed because...
Go on.
Because he is remorseful and was reformed while in prison, and that he should be given an opportunity to go back to society as a rehabilitated individual, since that is the goal of sentences, the court papers state. The 3-judge bench partially agreed with him, deciding that although his conviction remains, the 9 life sentences running concurrently ought to be changed because the mandatory sentence in law was illegal.
Okay.
The judges said that the courts should have used the jurisprudence from the Muruatetu decision of the Supreme Court in 2017 that held that a mandatory minimum sentence is illegal.
Yep.
The Supreme Court decision in the Francis Karioko Muruatetu versus the Republic of Kenya rejected mandatory minimum sentences. The case, the Apex Court held that a mandatory death penalty prescribed in Section 204 of the Penal Code for the offence of murder is unconstitutional.
Okay.
Taking this trend into consideration, we hereby set aside the sentence of life imprisonment imposed on the appellant in this case. Instead, we take into consideration the circumstances surrounding the offence, the offenders and the victims. The judges said in doing so, we agree with the trial court that the offences were indeed heinous and were perpetrated in a predatory and depraved manner on 9 innocent little children aged between 3 and 8 years old, all of whom have been left with psychological scars. They described Wangogo's sentence as severe, brutally savage and barbaric attacks that deserve no mercy. 30 years is mercy.
So the appellate judges agree with the lower court that this was a heinous act.
They do.
But then they say that this... the Sexual Offences Act imposes the mandatory minimum sentencing, which is what the lower court had relied on.
Yes.
And they said you shouldn't have. Because of that, that's why you had 7 concurrent life sentences.
Yes.
Okay. But why didn't they use their wisdom to still impose a life sentence on the guy?
Exactly.
You know,
I need to clarify something. When we talk about capital offences, sexual violence is...
it's not categorized.
It's not categorized. I just need to clarify that. Okay,
it's not.
Please carry on.
Robbery with violence.
It's robbery with violence.
Murder.
It's murder. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Hey.
You know, this entire conversation, beyond saying it was heinous and that there was a psychological trauma, do they really understand what these young children have been left with? Do they even have a clue?
It upsets me too much to comment about it because you have scarred, damaged children for the rest of their lives. There's nothing, and that's the truth, no amount of psychological counseling, no amount of therapy, no amount of anything is going to get these children back to where they were before these acts were performed on them, against them. You will never get them back in the constitution of their character again to how they originally were. We are not even going to discuss the fact that these children were already in children's homes. That meant what? they did not have the nuclear unit of family. They already didn't have that. And then you take more from them. And I'm not saying that taking life away from this man or incarcerating him for the rest of his life was going to bring that about. But something has got to show for something. This
a life sentence for such person is mild.
This is a slap on the wrist.
It's not even a slap on the wrist, a pat on the back. And this person, if I listen to the argument, these are not complete, but this is a calculating fellow who even understood how to present his case, what to say, how to plead. Nine
babies.
This is deliberate.
And then he says he was remorseful?
No. A repeat offender claiming that they're remorseful.
I can't. No. And then these are the same people who tell you, please don't put our names on the sexual register. Can we do another story?
Yes.
Governors brace for fights with the states over ECDEs. All right, Here we go. Governors will boycott the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee meeting scheduled for Tuesday next week to discuss the implementation of recommendations made by the Presidential Working Party on education reforms on how to best manage the sector. So they've brought in governors, said, let's do this thing together. Governor said, you, me, foot no. Why? They said it's to protest against proposals to have the management of over 30,400 early childhood development and education centres, the ECDEs, which employ 54,000 teachers and have an enrolment of some 2.3 million children. Under the national government, governors are saying they want to manage this. Barely 2 weeks ago, the Council of Governors chairperson Anne Waiguru had warned that counties would not allow the plan to materialise on grounds that the Constitution has mandated the devolved units to manage pre-primary schools. Up until now, the counties have not been managing, but the Constitution says that they should. County bosses are demanding further consultations to ensure their concerns are addressed. They accuse the national government of rolling back on the gains made by devolution by removing this function from them. They were addressing journalists at the COG office in Nairobi yesterday after the meeting between the Education and Legal Constitutional Affairs and Intergovernmental Relations Committees in the morning. They met to discuss the implications of the Working Party, particularly with regards to the recommendations that the task force be made on how ECDE centres be run. So the Council of Governors is asking, why are we having a conversation about how they should be run? It's not even you.
It's not your business.
It's not your business. It's us. Up until now, you've not allowed us to do this. You shouldn't be discussing how they should be run. You should be saying, counties, run the thing, let's move. Why are we... So they've said, now you want to call us to have a meeting about how you're going to implement the things that you've talked about at Kuji. Until and unless you do what? Allow devolution to live out its original idea. And one of those was to say that we, as counties, will manage these institutions. You take it away from us, and that's what you want to discuss?
Allow me to ask again, who are they addressing?
The Presidential Working Party on Educational Reforms. Proxy for somebody else, nay?
So what did the Working Party recommend when it comes to ECDs?
They've not recommended per se. They've acknowledged, and that's maybe we need to give them some credit. If we look at the reports in detail, they've acknowledged that counties have a role to play in ECDs and their management.
Right.
Now, the Council of Governors say we don't have a role to play. We are the players. It is us who are actually supposed to manage them. So it's not it's not concert. It is actually just us.
Okay.
Now, the Working Party also said that. The Council of Governors also said that the management remains unchanged, right?
Okay.
And it is to be managed by us alone. Don't bring in these recommendations that you've been doing around the country. Now you want to institute a task force to see how now management would change or things like that. We don't want that.
Which is
Leave
what I'm
it with
wondering.
us, yeah?
What exactly is their beef here? What
they want to continue to manage.
What specific aspects of ECDs did the Working Party touch on and recommend that is really, really angering the governors? Because it can't be that, we discussed ECDs.
No, so let me tell you. They made, in the report, they said that they should have a comprehensive school system. All levels of learning were to be headed by one head of institution, something that the governors claim disregards the delineated functions in the constitution. They said that let's have all this and you put one head and let's deal with it from a central level. And governors are saying, we don't want that. They said that there's no accountability framework provided for the proposed head of institutions to the counties regarding the management of the pre-primary schools. They faulted the recommendation that the Ministry of Education, the TSC, and the COG should develop an intergovernmental agreement for hiring and remuneration of pre-primary teachers. They said the hiring is a preserve of the county governments, as reiterated in a court ruling that clarified the powers of county governments in hiring pre-primary teachers. It is us who is supposed to do this. This recommendation, we don't like it. They also rejected a proposal to amend the Basic Education Act to have county commissioners chair county education boards, as well as develop a framework for the facilitation of development partners who support education. A convening of any devolved sector forum will strictly be done between the two levels of government and no other entity. So now this invitation of other entities is what they do not want. Now, they said they're protesting against all attempts to claw back on devolution in the education sector.
You know, I get what they're saying in terms of technically, when, for example, you say that there shall be one head of this institution, and that is JSS, primary, and ECD, then you have mixed up national functions with devolved functions. But I also ask myself, these kids who are in ECD ought to join the primary school that is under national government.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do they want to have this linkage?
Because there must be.
Do they want the ECDs to be outside of a primary school? Because if the ECD, mostly in all rural areas, you'll find
it is part.
It's part of the primary school.
Yes.
So do they want to be the ones who hire the head of the ECD, the teachers in the ECD, blah, 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 who are in the same school as the primary school? And then what's that? How is that transition going to be like?
How has this been working all these years? Because before this working party came along, somehow children have been
going into ECDs.
Yes, going to primary schools.
What we've been seeing is governors hiring ECDs, and that's what ECD teachers are paying them, what, 5,000?
Yes.
7,000.
Yes.
7,000.
Yes, but the transition has been ongoing. So this new thing that the working party is bringing about, which will make this thing better, is what exactly?
Well, I think it's that.
It was
Eric
harmonizing.
Asking about harmonizing, and there must be a link.
This is the point I'm making.
2 years of ECD.
This is the point I'm making. The link existed 10 years as it was. Link means what? You can document the transition, but you can. What are they saying when they say link?
When you talk about quality assurance, for example, right? If the Ministry of Education is in charge of quality assurance, as it is, not just policy, but quality assurance means inspection.
Yes.
Okay? Now, can the Ministry of Education, which is a national government department, come and do quality assurance in the ECD?
What have they been doing all these years?
Those are the questions.
That's the thing, that there has been no quality assurance.
How do we know
metrics.
the quality of education that the ECD kids are getting?
You know, it's a valid question.
And when the primary school head says, all right, so when I'm admitting children into standard 1, this is what I expect.
This is what I look for.
This is what I look for.
The working
How do we
party,
make sure that there's not going to be a clash?
Now, the working party is saying that there should be a head that will see this seamless transition.
You know, I'm moving from what I
said
before.
They want to bring somebody to see the seamless
transition. Has been taking place all these years.
But not quality assured.
Even when you talk about primary school, transition from ECD to primary school, secondary school, the quality assurance has been that exam. You pass, you move to the next level. And since it's a national exam, essentially you're saying that everybody has been able to sit it, so we can determine that this person qualifies to move to the next stage. Are we saying that for ECD, this is the sort of thing they want?
Those are I guess those are the issues that came out when the working party was working on this. And they were like, there may be some gaps here that need to be tightened. Now, maybe the approach of it is what the governors are saying, hey, come on.
You're stepping on our toes, man.
Yeah, it appears like you guys are doing everything from up there without regarding the fact that this is a devolved function and we have our role to play. It's a big one, this one. We'll call in one of those, either Governor Barchok or Governor Eric Mutai, to tell us all about it. Good morning, 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Demolitions to pave way for government's affordable houses continued in Kakamega County despite a court issuing orders halting the demolitions. The Law Society of Kenya in Kakamega has equally criticized the government's decision to bring down the homes. In November 2023, Kakamega Western Regional Commissioner Irungu Macharia defended the demolitions, noting that the move is part of the government's commitment to restoring public land to its rightful purpose, paving the way for essential development projects. The process of land recovery commenced on September 1st, with the issuance of a vacating notice to occupants urging them to relocate by November 23rd, when the demolition processes officially began. Macharia similarly quelled rumors alleging that some residents in Milimani were being spared from the demolitions. And Embu Governor Cecily Mbarire has assured Embu residents that the county is doing everything to ensure that services at the Embu Level 5 hospital continue uninterrupted. This after 97 doctors under KMPDU downed their tools. She at the same time urged the doctors to resume their duties as they continued the round table talks. The medics had raised concern over promotions and arrears.
We have met in Embu County with Embu doctors to launch the strike of all doctors of Embu County, and the strike shall commence tonight at 12 a.m. Despite us giving a strike notice of 21 days concerning matters of promotion, concerning matters of non-payment of statutory deductions, concerning matters of conversion of doctors from inferior contractual agreements that have been put forward by Embu County government, none of these particular issues that Embu County government has been able to address.
The Orange Democratic Movement Party now says it supports the National Dialogue Committee report despite describing it as imperfect and unfinished as it presently is. Secretary General Edwin Sifuna termed the report that was drafted by a joint Kenya Kwanza and Azimio la Umoja One Kenya team as a good start. Sifuna disclosed that 18 of 31 proposals made by the ODM party, constituting about 58% of the final report, were adopted in the report. Sifuna further said that the party has disbanded its National Elections Board in efforts to devolve management of its elections to the grassroots. And residents of Kirai village in Gatundu, North Kiambu County have expressed outrage over increased break-ins and theft of various items from house of worship. Over the last 1 month, vandals are reported to have broken into several churches. In the latest incident, Kenya Assemblies of God and Anglican Churches of Kenya have been left counting huge losses after the robbers made off with iron sheets, metals, wiring materials and musical instruments. The thugs are said to have broken the padlock and bolts of the church doors before assessing the buildings, according to Pete Nirango, technician at KG Church. The criminals recently vandalized the church's lavatory iron sheet, leaving them bare, broke windows to gain entry into the church, where they stole assorted metallic and wiring items. And police constable Nicholas Musyoka, who shot and killed 2 people in a bar fight in Nakuru, will remain in police custody for 7 more days. Justice Samuel Mohochi also directed the probation department to prepare a pre-bail report that will help the court determine the bail terms for the officers released. This even comes as the ODPP has preferred murder charges against him after IPOA conducted an independent and comprehensive investigation. And the driver of a 47-seater bus involved in a crash that killed 15 people on the Nakuru-Eldoret highway Tuesday has been arrested. Clement Kiarie, who was driving the Classic King bus, was detained at the Mau Summit police station Wednesday pending his arraignment. 8 adults and 7 children, including 5 girls and 2 boys, died in the 2:45 a.m. incident. And the global employment rate will increase slightly in 2024. A report by the United Nations has raised concerns about stagnant productivity, worsening inequalities, and inflation biting into disposable income. The UN's labor agency said the economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic has slowed down, with ongoing geopolitical tensions and persistent inflation triggering aggressive moves by the central banks. And the Kenya Rugby Union has moved to streamline the management of the National Rugby 15s teams after announcing they are in market for a new coach to be included in the Kenya Under-20 technical bench. KRU's Director of Rugby Development, Moses Mukabani, says new tacticians' primary responsibilities will include training the Under-20 squad and managing a performance program to prepare selected players for international competitions. This is Newsworm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Okay, so traffic in the city this morning. It started early on Mombasa Road. This is outbound traffic. The recarpeting of the road, and we're going to have to keep saying that as many times so we can understand what the reason is. Recarpeting of the lower road is taking place. It's supposed to be just at night, but I guess night became...
Wait, what are you talking about?
Mombasa Road, the lower road. Recarpeting has begun.
Where?
It started from the interchange junction, and it's making its way towards the city. Slowly. We've been working at night, but for some reason today...
So now they are recarpeting now?
They started at night, but today...
So they've blocked a lane or they've blocked the entire road?
It's a lane, and it's inbound. So you can imagine in the morning, inbound traffic on Mombasa Road and what it's doing.
On the 11th of January?
Yes, please. You know. Why reason when you can reason?
Genius.
Other parts of the city, however, this morning, not much in terms of traffic. It seems to be moving on the thicker superhighway, except when you get to Survey, and it can slow down a little bit. Kiambu Road also piling up. Waiyaki Way, as you get to the city, and that's via Chiromo, that's also doing the thing this morning. It's not too bad on Landis, but we're likely to see a pickup, especially what we see coming off of Jogo Road. And Haile Selassie is busy coming off Kamkunji. Most of it is Mombasa Road this morning, and it looks pretty messy from all that we see, all the way from now Hilton Garden Inn, it's creeping towards Kibwana. So we're going to watch out for that and see how it opens up this morning. Rain coming down doesn't help matters. We'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
8 after 7, how are you doing? Welcome to the second hour of the Situation Room. Those who are joining us now on KTN Home, Karibu Sana, good morning, happy Thursday. It's the 11th day of the year. Very soon we'll be on 350 cities.
Hey, boy.
Gone. Like that. Okay. Children are back to school.
Yes, they are.
You have fee arrears here and there because you are Kenyan, okay? Now, think about it. How about we sort you out in terms of how you actually cover that fee area?
Very fast.
Twende kwa duka.
Let's go.
Hiya. Today I'm giving you the small one. Medium size. Kiwi.
Hata matumbo ni mboga.
Bas.
So, Kiwi. This is the solution right now. Kiwi is saying, step up and shine. How are we doing this? We're going to a shop where you will find, and the question that we're going to find out about whether it's just a black, we'll find that out. But hey, pick up a tin of Kiwi today, pop the lid, under the lid is a code. You will then dial *459 *5#, input the code. instantly you get airtime or data, and then thereafter you get to enter into a draw. The draw then is seeing 4 people win 35,000 shillings every week, and it goes towards school fees. And we know that in a lot of schools, school fees includes your uniform, your this, your that, the other thing. So 35,000 shillings that goes directly to school is taking care of a lot of things at a go. It's fantastic. You want to get on that? Do it today. Step up and shine with Kiwi.
It's the way to go. Okay, the other thing is about Maramoja Taxi. Now, we said if you go to your app store, you will be able to download Maramoja. Go to Maramoja Transport Company Limited, and then you see which one?
Blue.
Because there'll be several Maramojas.
Yes.
Go with the blue one.
Yes.
Download the blue one. And then...
It's very easy, actually.
To register.
Yes, register. Name, phone number.
Email.
Address. Done.
Start using it.
You're ready to go.
Very.
You told proceed, and then you proceed.
So the next time you want to move from point A to point B and you want to use a taxi, Maramoja is the way to go. And it's easy.
One of the things that I found recently, again, something very interesting, which I haven't noticed before when I used other apps. The driver will tell you, look, I am at this other place, which is not very near here. Is it possible for you to get another taxi? Now, that doesn't happen with other apps. What you do is, if it's an app that tells you or gives you an estimation of the distance that the driver has between you and them, the driver seems to be moving away and you're expecting them to come closer to you. So they were 3 minutes away, suddenly they're 7 minutes away, and you're wondering, now, this is odd, isn't it? Then they're 10 minutes away. So you call and say, why do I get the impression you're not coming? Bwana niko mbali sana. So say, okay, sawa.
We're Counsel.
It's all right, so fine. But in this case, they actually tell you, look, I'm far away. Or you're told, I'm dropping someone.
Yes.
This also doesn't happen.
Yes.
Is it possible? Can you wait for this length of time before I come? Now, you see, that's good information. If I can't wait, I tell you, no, I can't wait. If I can wait, I'll tell you, yes, I can wait.
Very good. When you spoke to Ronald Mahondo and Michelle Midi, who are from Maramoja, they told us also something that's quite big. You know, these are the apps where the driver tells you, Atinenda wapi? Imekuonyesha ngapi? Utaongeza. This one doesn't happen. It don't happen. Okay? Because everybody is clear what they are dealing with in transaction from the very beginning. Hii mambo ati imekuonyesha ngapi? Ai, utaongeza 200. Unajua huko bwana. Hii app squeezy. No. Even when you have, what are they called?
Emergencies?
No, not emergencies. When you have when they're giving you have a promotion and they've given you a discount. What's it called on the other apps?
Promo.
The promo, right? And then you have gotten some very cheap fare.
You can go from Mombasa Road to Westlands for 150 shillings.
Yes. And then the driver is the one who ends up suffering. In this particular case, with Maramoja Taxi, the driver gets paid full amount. This promo is you and Maramoja. And that's why they're telling you, actually, use our promo code. If you use the SPICE30 as your promo code, SPICE30, you will get a 30% discount on your next ride. That doesn't mean that the driver will earn 30% less. No. The driver will still earn the full amount. That's why the drivers are all preferring to have Maramoja on their apps. I know very many cab drivers who listen to us. In fact, they'll tell us, go onto our social media handles, cab guys, and tell us, this Maramoja. So it's the thing. It's the way to go. Okay, let's have a conversation. It's Justice Thursday. Let's have a conversation about the judiciary, okay? And the law and order today, 7 a.m. We are joined by the Vice President of the, not Republic of Kenya, but the Law Society of Kenya.
Just as powerful.
Just as powerful, right? Just as influential. Her name is Faith Odhiambo. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome again to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Santi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're here because we want to talk about, Justice Thursdays and what the LSK has been doing. LSK is up in arms and saying, there is a clawback on the rule of law in the country and observance and respect of court orders. And we want lawyers to come out and tell the executive that you don't have an option. You'll tell us all about it. But City will welcome you with the day's proverb.
Yes.
This week's proverbs are from the Republic of Kenya. And they're in Kiswahili. And we will want you to, first of all, translate them to English and then give us your interpretation. Sawa.
Kazi mingi asubuhi, man.
Ni kazi mingi.
Ya asubuhi.
Well, given that you've actually constructed an understandable sentence in Swahili, we understand that hii ni kazi mingi. That's an appropriate sentence. Okay, let's ongeza the kazi mingi, shall we? Okay. This proverb is controversial. Very. Hata matumbo ni nyama. My colleagues here said that is not a proverb. They said I woke up in the morning and figured, what can I say?
Oh, you ate matumbo for breakfast?
So I told them that I prepare these things week in advance.
Matumbo fried.
I am seeing the list. My husband would love that proverb. Matumbo ni nyama.
Now, this is what happens when somebody has a good husband.
Indeed. How can I say trifles also meat? I would say that, how would you best construct this? So matumbo is a delicacy for some.
And for some?
Particularly in our country. And I think also in your country, how it's prepared, the suya. The one with trifles, if you do.
Okay, no, not really. Well, okay. Yeah, it's also a delicacy.
Yeah.
Let's just put it like that.
And as much as it's not the prime beef or goat meat that people would ordinarily want to celebrate, if you can't get what's the next best thing, they would settle for matumbo. Yeah.
Wakili, is that a proverb?
I don't think it's a proverb. I'm sorry, I'm not on your side today.
No, Faith. No. This is the beauty of having a panel where you can actually disagree with someone even if you're wrong. It's okay.
Oh gosh.
Somebody called Someone called Itonga is saying on YouTube that what they know as the proverb is hata mkia ni nyama.
And very nice nyama for that matter.
It is. By the time the inventors of the word meat call it oxtail, it means so even if it's a cow, it's still oxtail.
So ni mkia ni nyama au ni matumbo ni nyama?
Both.
Ya city ni matumbo. Kwanza hii January.
Kweli.
You know, you must understand, some of us, when we're very young, the part of the chicken that we knew we could eat were the intestines. Yes, we prepared them, and they were very good when they were put over fire, okay? You graduated at some point to claws. Then neck and head.
Delicacies in China.
Yeah, so I'm trying to say, but by the time you're being introduced to you, the wings, what have you, you're not really interested in that part of the chicken. The other parts of the chicken are actually quite nice. So, yes.
Yeah.
So is it that you got used to suffering or hard times, or what are you saying?
You know, this is the point. It's like asking someone who went to school barefooted and everybody went barefooted. You can't be suffering because everybody is barefooted.
No, but by the time he gets shoes, surely you'll never go back.
You actually suffer with the shoes because usually those shoes are supposed to last a lifetime, and just a few months down the line you can barely walk because they're pinching you. So
anyway, let's go on.
So what do we agree? Is it a proverb or not?
City says it's a proverb.
It's
and
a
because
wise
he
saying.
is our sage, we will
just allow him.
We'll allow him to win.
Yeah. Okay. We do not accept, but we
move on.
We don't agree, but we accept.
We accept and move on.
Yeah. Okay.
So
we don't agree,
but we
accept. Okay. Wakili, what's up? Why are you asking lawyers to come out? And when?
So we are asking lawyers to come out tomorrow, Friday. We are meeting at the Supreme Court at 10 a.m. in the morning, in the a.m. to march, and we are going to have a peaceful protest. The mandamano will be on the streets, and we are telling the executive that you must obey court orders. And if you find that or believe there is corruption, and we say there are always a few rotten apples, bring that evidence. Let them go through due process. Even as Kenyans, we do not want corrupt judicial officers. but you cannot label everyone corrupt for the purposes that suit you. So one day when they are singing to your tune, they are the best. We should support them, give them more money, sing praises. We see you attending meetings together, hosting them at the State House. When they say, no, Mr. President, you're wrong, they are corrupt, they are thieves, they are taking away hope from Kenyans. So this labeling of the judiciary as a wholesale is something that we don't agree to. Pick out who are the wrong, who are the corrupt officers. Let us deal with them in accordance with the law. We have a constitution that he should protect, having sworn to protect that constitution when he took office. And therefore, the constitution provides the procedures in how you should deal with corrupt judicial officers. We have the Judicial Service Commission that you should be able to table that evidence, let them be processed, let them have their fair day in court, then let that decision be made.
So it's a demonstration against the president?
It's a demonstration against all utterances, including the utterances made by the president. So you note, apart from the president, there have been CSs and some MPs allied to the ruling party that have also been saying court orders are papers and things like that. So that's our demonstration, because our country is based on the rule of law. We have a constitution that guides how we work and how the three arms of government are supposed to work, independent from each other, and how they have set, the constitution has set checks and balances against the three arms.
Okay.
So we expect that to be upheld to the letter.
What's wrong with the president saying what he has said?
Well, I would want to say, when you want to turn an institution or people against an institution, you start by labeling them, so that it'll be easy now to start attacking and destroying that institution. Now, when we hear it's coming from the head of state, it makes it easier now for the rest of the officers in the executive to pick up from the queue. It starts from the top. So we now have CSAs and MPs coming out and senators coming out to say similar utterances. So what does it mean also in the same tenets that he says that this judiciary is preventing people from getting what they deserve? What happens when the same citizen has a claim against that same executive? If they bring before the the judiciary gives an order, now you cannot proceed with that order, because that same executive is saying that this court orders are papers. They're nothing that can be respected. So how are we going to protect the rights of these same citizens in this country? Because without a doubt, there are citizens who will bring claims even against the government, against also some of these top officers in the executive. So what happens to those rights? When we see the government moving to this trajectory, we're seeing a situation where we're trying to claw back. We have a history in this country. And before the 2010 constitution, why there was that overarching support and people came together, different divides, different tribes, different denominations to agree on a new constitution, is because we realized that we do not want the era that we are coming from in the old constitution. We had totally authoritarian president. All power lied on the president. And as I was making a joke before you started the show, was that you'd have to watch news to see if you had a job or not. And there was the joke about the red phone. I would say that at a meeting at the NCAJ once, after the Law Society had made a lot of noise of us seemingly seeing a close relationship between the executive and the judiciary, and he promised that there's no red phone that he uses to call the judiciary.
Yeah.
But now this is not even a scenario of a red phone. This is a direct call of and threatening of fear to the judicial officers. Because if you feel that as a judicial officer, they are human beings. They go home, they have families. So if the head of state is telling you, we will deal with you, because you're stopping what they want, what is going to happen to the independence of our judiciary?
What reason would the president have for wanting to destroy the judiciary? We are not talking about some adopted institution. We're talking about an independent institution which makes up government, right? Executive, judiciary, legislature. We know that. What reason would the president have to want to now make this three-legged stool two-legged, knowing very well that the judiciary is responsible for a number of activities that constitute government, and that without a strong judiciary, then you have so many loopholes through which so many things can happen? Why would he want to disempower that?
And that's why the Law Society is coming out strongly. And as per our role, we are advising the government and telling them, no, that's not the right way to go. Because the judiciary is a very important tool, even for investors. Because part and parcel of what investors will look for in a country is that, are you able to have dispute resolution? Can it be resolved quickly? And do they uphold the decision of the courts? Because no investor will want to bring their money into a country when they know if there's a dispute, especially against the government, they're going to lose, and they lose their investment and their money. They will go elsewhere. So we are telling the head of state, you need to rethink your steps. And why I say this, and the fear that we also have, our neighbors just at the north, Tunisia, just from 2022, there's been, President Said, we have seen a deterioration of the rule of law. First, he started by dismissing 57 judges and prosecutors saying they were corrupt. No proper judicial process was followed. The court issued an order, reinstated them. He ignored it.
Okay.
Next, thereafter, he went after the advocates that were defending these judges and prosecutors. Thereafter, he arrested politicians who came out to protest, 30 politicians. And thereafter, he issued a decree against those judges, the prosecutors, and the politicians. So, trajectory, even after the 2011 revolution, if we remember how the revolution started at the north, when people were burning themselves, you know, against what was happening in the system. But we are seeing what is creeping out and how it has moved quickly in Tunisia. And we're saying, if we don't watch out, we have a history in this country. We have seen how things were so terrible that people were even afraid to have this discourse that we're having openly at the radio station. So we are saying we don't want an opportunity for us to claw back and that to happen. We are a new dispensation. People should be allowed to express themselves. And the president is allowed to say, if he feels there's corruption, that is fine. But you cannot blanketly say that all judicial officers are corrupt because they have not said yes.
But he hasn't said all.
But he's saying the judiciary is corrupt.
Well, yeah, he's not the only one.
You see, you're the head of state.
Right.
You have powers on what you can do. Investigations can be done. Let those investigations be done. Let them be tabled to the right channels. By labeling, and particularly you're attacking the judiciary when a decision is going to be made. He made those statements right before the Court of Appeal was sitting to hear the matter that was coming on the housing. So is it an attempt to create fear so that they can rule in accordance? So you're telling them from the roadside, or rather from the construction side, this is the decision I'm warning you. If you dare not make the decision I want, I'm going to deal with you.
Is that your interpretation of it?
That is my interpretation of it.
Do you think the judges would interpret it that way?
Well, the judges, when you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? I do not want to pretend that I'll be on the mind of the judges that were sitting and hearing that matter. But you're coming to me and saying, my lord, I want these orders, but you're telling me your orders I will not obey. Isn't it an oxymoron?
You know, it's interesting when you introduce the word profiling, because some of the worst atrocities this planet has ever seen among mankind is when, and it begins with precisely that, it begins as a little murmur and a rumor and a profiling, and then you dehumanize people, then it becomes a lot easier for you to commit your atrocities. Whether they're talking about Nazi Germany, whether they're talking about the atrocities in Rwanda, it's the same thing. You move the human beings to a point where the profiling and the propaganda, so they become either an insect or an object or something of disrepute. So their lives then cease to be of importance or of the same importance as other people. And it's something we've seen even in this country whenever we were at turmoil. In 2007, 2008, yes, we heard and they existed. That same process. Every time we've had serious electoral differences, you see it coming up. Every time the government seems to be put in a corner, there will be individuals within the so-called ruling parties who come out and they make utterances. It is for that reason that the Kamata Friday that we speak of came about. People who would say things that were clearly insightful. And if you listen to what they were saying, they were in many cases profiling. It is dangerous. It is really, really, really dangerous. And it's a slippery slope that once you start embarking on, there is no telling where it will stop.
Exactly.
Let's take a break. It's 7:30. We are having a Justice Thursday conversation with the Vice President of the Law Society. Why don't they call you Deputy?
Because our law provides for vice president.
Change it, Bwana.
There's only one deputy president in this country.
The law is clear.
There's also just and there's one president in this country.
There are many presidents.
Now there are many presidents.
But one deputy. The Vice President of the Law Society of Kenya, Faith Odhiambo, is our guest this morning. The Law Society of Kenya is calling on all advocates. Just advocates or just lawyers? All lawyers.
All lawyers.
All lawyers to come out tomorrow and demonstrate against what they're saying is the president's utterances, which appear to be indicating to be an attack against the judiciary. That's what we're discussing. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Some very nice, mature music.
It really took me back to my days, and I can just feel young again and enjoy the vibes. It's a really
Spice.
Highs of 24 and lows of 16. Cloudy conditions with a drizzle in Nakuru. Highs of 25, and we'll see highs of 24 in a rainy Nyeri at 16. Cloudy, rainy conditions in Eldoret with highs of 23 and lows of 12. Mombasa is cloudy at 26, beckoning rain with highs of 32. And we'll see highs of 32 as well in a mostly cloudy Malindi at 27. It's 21 and cloudy in Kisumu with highs of 27, while Kakamega will see highs of 28, currently partly cloudy at 19. Coming down to lows of 17. Light rain showers have now begun in Kampala at 20, highs of 27, and it continues to rain in Dar es Salaam at 27 with highs of 30. It's 17 degrees and raining in Johannesburg with highs of 26, and we're looking into a sunny Mogadishu at 24 with highs of 32. It's 8 degrees, temperatures dropping in Addis Ababa with highs of 25 today and lows of 8. Lagos is clear at 26 with highs of 33, and it's mostly cloudy at 24 in Kinshasa with highs of 29 and lows of 23.
Chilled Spice.
All right, so where are we now with what's going on the Thika Superhighway? Traffic is coming in, but let's take a look at Mombasa Road, where that traffic that started very early is still heavy. Inbound, coming in from Hilton Garden Inn on the other side of things. It's going out past Cabanas now, and moving very slowly. We don't know if construction's still on the road. How about you give us a shout out and tell us if those construction vehicles are still there. It's heavy on at Survey coming out towards the CBD and on Limuru Road, as well as coming off of Kiambu Road. Traffic continues. This is Ngong Road. It's heavy coming in to the city. Naivasha Road is also doing the thing, touching on Riara Road, and then everybody crossing over towards Gitanga Road and then out towards James Gishuru. This is crazy. We'll have a look, and we're getting into traffic hour. SpiceFM KE on X. Let's talk there as we try to keep things moving this morning.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.9 101.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Of the LSK, and this is with regards to what is seeming to be an attack on the judiciary when the president says there is corruption in the judiciary, and then that is followed by statements from other members of the executive. Madam VP, are you also taking action or against lawyers who have said the same things? For example, your former presidents, Amenasir Abdullahi, senior counsel, former president Paul Moita, senior counsel, they've come out and said, well, yeah, there are concerns about corruption in the judiciary.
What the two have raised is indeed a concern for many members of the law society. They have said there are areas that they are of concern that we need to deal with. And I think even Ahmed Nasir has come out very clearly. Even from last year, there was a colloquium he was supposed to attend, and he also raised that was something he was going to come and talk about concerns of there being creeping corruption at the judiciary. And that is the challenge that he says he's had is, tabling what is the JSC doing. But you see, he's addressed it also at the JSC level, the correct channel in which we should be dealing with corruption. So I agree to the extent that what we need to fight corruption at the registries, at the judiciary, and also judicial officers that are corrupt. But what I don't agree is coming out to blanketly label and try and profile the judges as a general that they are corrupt. Because that what does it mean for you and me who are coming before those same courts and seeking justice? What we want to do is we have to fight corruption jointly, collect evidence, table before the Judicial Service Commission, and ensure these corrupt officers are removed. Well said, well understood. Yes.
So have you summoned your two senior members to come and tell them this is what you ought to be doing? Because when they make public statements, when senior counsel, respected lawyers, go out and say there's corruption in the judiciary, not once, not twice, not 3 times Amenasir has said this. And yet, I'm not aware of a specific complaint that he has filed against an individual judge. Have you taken issue with that?
Amenasir actually said he has tabled complaints against certain judges and magistrates before the JSC before. So he's talking about something that he's actually taking action against. So we haven't summoned him, if that's what you're looking for, that answer. We haven't summoned him, but he's exercising his right of free speech.
Okay.
Why we are holding the president accountable? Because the office of the president carries a lot of weight. Ahmed Nasir is not the president of the Republic of Kenya, nor is he sitting as the head of parliament. He's not the speaker of the National Assembly or Senate. He doesn't carry that national sway that we're talking about that the head of state does. The head of state has a responsibility to carry out his duties following the rule of law. He has to remember that utterances that he made, he came in by the vote of the majority of the people of Kenya, so to speak. And therefore, with that support that he has, the utterances that he makes can shift and sway how the people of Kenya look at this judiciary. He carries a lot of responsibility on his back. Ahmed Nasir has not vied for any political seat in terms of national politics. That he has that he can change a whole constituency on how they are looking at that judiciary.
He can shift public perception.
But yes.
Because of also his political weight.
Of course.
Same weight, one would argue, that Raila Odinga carries.
Yes.
He's also made such several times.
And remember when Raila made the statements and they said, let's do a march to the Supreme Court and bring the people against the Supreme Court. He was advised against it because what would it mean for the rule of law? Well, politically for your people, you win. But what would it mean for that arm of government? And he decided not to. But here...
He didn't stop making the statements.
He didn't stop, but he didn't make that move, which would have had a great impact. Now, what we see is, apart from the statements of the head of state, they have now gone ahead to effect their threat. The Finance and Planning Committee and the Housing Committee have moved on. They are carrying out the stakeholder engagement and they are moving to the next process. So they are moving, and I had the sentiments that Farah Malim was making recently that They're trying to imitate the UK parliamentary system where they feel that they're supreme and you cannot stop. And we all know that the executive has majority in parliament. So these two arms of government are purporting to override the independence of the judiciary. So our system, our constitution is not like the UK system. We have checks and balances. They must abide by the court orders. The court has said stop. You ought to stop. You can't say we have stopped, now we are doing it differently, so that you think you're trying to circumvent the court order. That has to stop. So you see, the president has not only made utterances, but they have gone ahead with their threat and they are proceeding. And if you saw the recent statements that he made, he again profiled that these people are thieves, these people are corrupt, that you're stopping, these people are poor, they don't have homes. And you're touching the emotive part of the members of the country. Of course, everyone wants a house. Even you today, if you're told that you have an opportunity to get a home, and it's these judicial officers that are standing at your way, you've already profiled them. You've created them as an enemy to these members of the public. But that is not what the judiciary is doing. Due process must be followed. And that is what we want this country to be run on, the rule of law. So it's not what Ahmed Nasir has not made. He has made utterances, but has he gone ahead and done anything in abuse of any court orders? He hasn't.
What would the process look like, Faith? Because here we're talking about, because I think sometimes when we hear things like this, we gloss it over, sometimes, unless now, of course, going to go and say lawyers come out and protest against things like this. But it actually is serious when we talk about, again, an institution that forms the operations of government. It forms the character of government, and it carries agency when we are talking about how a country will be ruled. Now, if the executive has made utterances, it would appear as though he believes some of the things that he's saying when it comes to the recent statements. And you've said this several times, that if there is an issue, carry out the due process. What now would that process look like? If he said, look, I know of 1, 2, 3, and I would like to check on this thing. Of course, we know what this is all shrouded by. We know that the cases that are before, or the issues that are before the courts today, with housing and the, what's the other one? Universal health coverage, the social health insurance fund. We know those things are, and they're also front and center when it comes to the operations of government. But truly, if there is corruption in the judiciary, just as serious a thing, what would the process look like? If he said, we're going to actually deal with this thing like he has said, what should actually be done?
I want to give a recent case that happened, Justice Chitembo's case. And I think that one caught the view of many people in this country. The damning evidence that was collected by the then Governor Sonko, evidence that was tabled of matters that he handled in court. And what happened is that it was presented to the Judicial Service Commission. They sat, they found that he had a case to answer. Then the president set up a tribunal, which he also had representation. He had his lawyers. He was able to present his matter. The tribunal made a decision, presented to the president. The president agreed with the decision of the tribunal. He was removed from office, but he still had a right to appeal. He appealed to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court upheld that decision. He's no longer a judge. Now, that is a simple case scenario of how it works. And I'm not saying that it's sometimes even easy to collect some of this evidence, because even as advocates, we get frustrated. And that's why I say, as also law society, we don't have space or room for corruption. We are not defending corrupt judges at any point. And also, we will be following up to deal with this issue of corruption and tabling it before the Judicial Service Commission. Because as well as lawyers, we have challenges of judges that are compromising cases. You feel, even just looking at a precursor of even magistrates handling matters that they don't even have jurisdiction on and making decision and proceeding thereafter. A lot of cases of evictions. You remember the one that was done in Westlands. And so some certain cases we agree there is corruption and we want to see action. And we will fight and push that some of these judicial officers cease to sit in those offices. Because indeed, if you look at some of the cases that are presented to Judicial Service Commission, some are quite painful, looking at what some of these judicial officers have done. And that is something that we're going to push for as a joint front. We at no point are supporting corruption, because a corrupt judiciary means that what judiciary for us is the last front that the citizens have. So if you cannot trust that this neutral arbiter can give you justice, then we go back to the streets. We lose the very basis on which our constitution is running on.
It's anarchy.
Exactly. So we agree in terms of Ahmed Nasir's calls and other seniors, even junior lawyers, we all agree as one, as law society, that we will fight corruption. We have no room for corruption. So we are giving even notice to all these judicial officers. If you're engaged in corruption, we will find you and we will ensure we deal with you, but in accordance with the law. That is what we're going to ensure, so that you will leave and there's no hope of return to that seat again.
One could argue that when the Vice President of the Law Society of Kenya goes on public media like this and says, you are corrupt judicial officers, we will find you and we'll hand you out of office. It's the same thing.
And not the same thing.
These are officers of the court threatening the people in front of whom they'll appear. What action has the Law Society of Kenya actually taken? You know, I'm just looking back in the last 20 years, 22 years, 20 years or so. We've had radical surgeries in the judiciary in the hopes that, we are bringing back sanity in the judiciary. We are weeding out bad apples in the judiciary. The Ringera team came up with a radical surgery. Judges were removed. Others opted even not to appeal their cases. They went home. Soon after, we have a new constitution, and the new constitution, one of the first things that it addresses is there might be bad apples still left in the judiciary. And one of the things that we must do is also go in and weed out, set up an entire vetting panel that went through all judges individually, all magistrates individually, removed some, retained some. Less than 10 years later, we are still talking about the same thing. What is this that's happening in the judiciary that would constantly bring us to this conversation? Every 10 years, we're having a conversation about bad apples in the judiciary and having to weed them out. If those that were left by Sharad Rao and team were clean, those that have been hired since then have gone through a proper public recruitment exercise, how would we be having bad apples in the judiciary? Only the walls in the judiciary is it the water in the judiciary? What is it?
I don't know if it's the water they take, but I would say that in every institution, you will find there are always challenges. I would say that even from the 12 apostles that Jesus chose, there was the one that betrayed him. So I would say that similarly, the way we have in the executive, we have ministers, we have cabinet secretaries and PSs that are corrupt. It's the same way we have corrupt judicial officers. And the reason that the Judicial Service Commission was set was to deal with these issues as a continuous, so that you don't have to wait for another radical surgery or another vetting board to deal with them. Now, you see, corruption is not just the cases of taking money for cases. Corruption also goes hand in hand with also frustrating and delaying matters. We have lazy judicial officers. We have also corruption even in getting court dates. And these are matters that we have been sitting and engaging in, not only bar benches that we have with the judges and magistrates, but also when we meet the Judicial Service Commission and even the Chief Justice herself. And, as much as I've seen also the vice president or the vice chair of the JSC coming out to talk about some of these things, she also needs to be seen at the forefront, coming out to talk about and what measures they're going to take. Because there is so much, even from advocates, apart from compromising of matters based and with the belief that people are collecting money, a lot of issues that are still arising is you cannot get court dates for your matters, and secondly, delaying on even granting justice. Justice delayed is justice denied. So if you sit on a matter for 2-3 years, or I come with an urgent matter and you hear it 6 months, 1 year down the line, that is not justice. So those are part and parcel of also the things that the Judicial Service Commission is supposed to deal and handle these complaints as a continuous process.
Have you taken specific cases to the Judicial Service Commission as Law Society of Kenya against specific judicial officers and said, based on how this judicial officer is conducting themselves in office, they are denying justice to the people? Have you taken such cases?
So within this last 2 years, we haven't taken cases. But what we are working on is a task force that will be able to handle. No, it's a task force run by the Law Society itself. So what we want to do is, because we have been able to collect complaints from different stations, we have 8 branches at the Law Society.
Madam Vice President.
Yes.
What powers does the Law Society have?
We can't table.
What powers do you have?
In terms of being able to deal with...
Can you licensure?
Can you disbar a lawyer?
Disbar a lawyer. What powers do you have?
You can be struck off. We have a disciplinary committee, but not for judges. We don't.
No. I'm not even going there. I'm just saying what powers you have, because all these people, even judges, are members of the Law Society. Am I right? No. Are they members of the Law Society?
They are members of the Law Society.
Okay, thank you. Now, the reason why I asked the question is this. Going in tandem with Eric's question, in the last 2 years, how many lawyers have you disbarred?
We issued a notice.
Okay, in the last 10 years, let's not put it in a tight spot. How many lawyers do you know of who have been removed from the roll or from the register because of misdeeds?
I think we removed, the last time the CRJ published, there are about 40 lawyers.
How many lawyers are there in the country?
We are now running to 23,000.
Okay. Now, the reason why I ask, every time we talk about corruption in the judiciary, it is not possible for judges to be corrupt on their own.
Exactly.
Your members are part and parcel of the corruption, if indeed it does exist. The only problem is this. When we find judicial officers, judges, magistrates involved, their offices have gravitas. The effects of the decisions they make, if indeed they entertain and are part and parcel of the corruption, it is immense. That is the problem. But it isn't possible for it to be what it is, or it is alleged to be, without the participation of your members and you, learned friends. Now, if this then is the case, are there people, as we talk about corrupt judges, corrupt magistrates, lawyers who are known to collude with these people and who are part and parcel, whether as bagmen, because there are people whose job is to carry money. Okay? Hiyo ndio hata inajulikana, huyu kazi yake ukitaka kwenda kwa fulani, yeye ndiye atakuelekeza kwa fulani. Okay? Now, how do you deal with such cases?
City, you see, the thing about such an arrangement, it is a cartel. Unless the cartel, there is a whistleblower, who is going to table that evidence? How will you come across it to be able to deal with it? So unless someone within the deal was unhappy or someone is cheated, that's how the information now comes to the fore, and then we're able to deal with it. And for our lawyers, we take them through the same process, due process. We just don't disband our lawyers. There's a disciplinary committee. They're taken through due process. They present themselves, or they get an advocate to present them, and then is when a decision is made and they're disbarred. So the problem is, for such corrupt arrangements, the reason why cartels are difficult to find is, as long as the cartel is happy, no one gets to know how the cartel works or information on how to deal with that cartel. Now, you remember, even the videos that were shared by Sonko, there were allegations here and there about advocates being involved. But first of all, some of these advocates ended up being the witnesses. So you see the complication in that next. So how do you now take the person who says now they are the witness supporting the prosecution, and now us as LSK we say we're coming to prosecute?
Madam VP, I am in a delightfully privileged position because the things we speak of, I can claim ignorance. I'm not a legal officer. I do not go to court unless there's something that has happened that requires me to go there. But I have to marvel sometimes when you find senior members of your practice speaking knowledgeably and eloquently about corruption. I have to wonder, how do they know so much? How are they so knowledgeable about these things?
You know, the thing is, you hear these things, Siti Muga, but unless you have the evidence, it's quite difficult on how to nab it. And my worry is, even as the vice president, because I'm also a teacher of the law, is that when your students tell you, or now they are advocates, or they tell you, these are some of the challenges they go through, or because you hear that your case was compromised, because this is the going rate for this person, this is the going rate. And I'm like, why can't you come and we file a complaint? But some of them are happy in the arrangement, they will not. Because they are telling you it's either this way or there's no other way. So I'm telling them, let's sit and we find a way, then we deal with it wholesomely. Then even we have a private way in which we can try and set them up.
Madam VP, we have this situation in this country where our laws allows, you have to now guide me here. What sort of matters can we negotiate? Meaning there's something that seems to be wrong, or is there a threshold? Do I need to still say like 100 billion shillings before you can call me to negotiate? Or even if I steal 10,000 shillings, you can call me to negotiate? These settlements that we hear our law permits for people to negotiate, what are they?
No, the settlements that are done under the law are the ones that are done freely by the parties. So if we have a dispute, and it's on, let's say, payment of, I broke your flask, it costs $1 million, we can settle if I only have 800, that one, and it's done in court also. Once we agree, that settlement is signed in court. So that one is above board, that's allowed. What is not agreed is you coming to compromise, sit with the judicial officer or find someone to approach the judicial officer
on your behalf.
On your behalf, to agree that let's find favor for my client's case or give me these orders on behalf of my clients. Now that is not negotiation, that is corruption.
What I'm hearing you, Madam VP, saying is that even the Law Society acknowledges that there is corruption within the judiciary.
Yeah.
That the difficult part here is gathering the actual evidence that can sustain a case against a judicial officer or a lawyer.
Yeah.
Okay? Sounds the same thing that William Ruto has been saying.
Not exactly. Now,
that there is corruption in the judiciary. But
what we are saying, there are judicial officers that are corrupt. The judiciary is not corrupt. You see, you can have people in an institution.
There's corruption in the judiciary does not mean the judiciary is corrupt.
Yes, there are people in the judiciary who are corrupt. So we have judicial officers that are corrupt. You see, the problem we have is labeling. And as Siti said, once you start labeling, then you dehumanize and change the way people look at this arm of government, such that even when they will stand up and raise and fight against something that is wrong, it'll be harder for the citizens to come and rally behind them. Because remember, the courts are not like Parliament. Parliament can make press conferences. They can come and stand. They'll make laws and tell the president even go to hell if they deem so.
They seem fair.
But judiciary cannot come out to say such things. They can only speak through the pen.
What you're saying, Faith, do you honestly believe that what you've said today, in terms of, yes, we know there's frustration because there are some judicial officers who are corrupt. There are some officers within the institution of the judiciary who frustrate the case, who are lazy. You've said they're lazy judicial officers. Do you think that in the public, we think, okay, so the LSK is saying that there are some judicial officers who are corrupt, or is that the public is taking it as there's corruption in the judiciary?
Can I tag onto that just a little bit? Because here we are saying, and maybe even a scarier thought, that if there is the existence of corruption in the judiciary, what is being pointed out from the president today is not that corruption in the judiciary. That it is the notion of corruption in the judiciary because particular rulings have not gone in the direction in which you would like them. For me, that's a scary thought, as opposed to dealing with this monster that could be corruption? Are we saying that it has come out in the manner it has come out because rulings have gone in a certain way?
I say exactly that. We see when certain rulings have now since come, because it was all praise and pomp, and it was a lovey-dovey relationship initially. But now that we are seeing the judiciary coming out and showing their teeth, I would say, now we have a situation where they're being labeled as corrupt, that the judiciary accused the judiciary corrupt, because certain decisions are not aligning to what the government wants. You saw the finance bill, once that decision was made, then comes the housing bill, then we have the health bill. And, you know, the executive may have good ideas, but it's just the way they are going around it. No one is saying, and I don't think the judiciary, by stopping them, is saying that these are not great ideas. These are not things that you can help the citizens. What we're just telling you is follow the rule of law. There's a process that you need to follow. There's a manner that things need to be done. And I want to say this before we finish. The quagmire that we have that you raise when you're saying that you're fearing that what this may bring is that the president is only raising this question because things are not going their way. The judicial will only have three choices: to capitulate and give in to what the executive is saying. Two, to say they're not dealing with anything that touches on the executive until they say they will agree to court orders. Or three, they continue reviewing court matters in accordance to the rule of law, but let us see the judiciary speak by the pen. We saw that happening with Mrema when he said that Kinoti would serve sentence for contempt of court even after his term is over, to show that you are not above the rule of law. We saw Professor Ngugi coming out to say that in the High Court at the BBI case, telling the head of state that you are not above the law. And that is something that has gone down, and they have spoken through the pen. Let us have our judiciary as well being brave and speaking through their pen. Let us not capitulate and lose this independent arm of government.
Well said. Faith Odhiambo, Vice President, Law Society of Kenya. More coming up in the next hour, 8 a.m.
Watoto wote wameenda shule. Hii absenteeism ambayo iko to reduce watu wameenda shule. Na hii pia tunataka tutoa onyo kwa ile watu ambao kwenye mashamba ambao wanaajiri watoto wa shule kufanya kazi kwa mashamba yao badala ya kwenda shule. Pia hao tutawachukulia hatua. Hatutaki kuona mtoto badala ya kwenda shule ako kwa tinga ya kwenda kuvuna mahindi kwa shamba ya mtu fulani. Huyo mwenye tinga na mwenye shamba pia.
Kakamega County Woman Representative Elsie Mohanda said that she will present a bill in Parliament aimed at coming up with a law that will punish men who impregnate school children. Speaking to Huesero after meeting more than 400 students whom she helped return to school after being impregnated, Mohanda said that such cases have continued to increase in the county.
Ndio mimi naomba kwenda mbele, legislators wenzangu, tuweke sheria kali sana yenye yule mwenye atapatia mtoto wa shule mimba ya mapema atachukuliwa hatua kali, kwa maana mpaka saa hii hatuna legislation. Ofisi ya Mama County ina roll out affirmative action kwa mambo ya elimu mashinani. Hapa tuko na wasichana wetu wenye walipata mimba ya mapema, na niko na wale wana join wageni, na niko na wale wengine wanaendelea. Na siku ya leo mimi niko na furaha kwa maana tangu nianze hii program wasichana 30 wameenda university.
At the same time, the Deputy County Commissioner Huesero Sub-County Mohammed Jamal has called on the residents of the county to cooperate with the government to deal with the violence against children.
Kali tunajifunia kuona watoto wetu wanasaidiwa na wanashiriki, hakuna mayatima, wale watoto ambao wamepata mimba wakiwa wachanga wanasaidiwa. Kwa hivyo tuko na furaha kuona maendeleo ambayo tunaona hapo leo. Pili, ningechukua fursa hii kuwaonya wale ambao huwa wananajisi watoto. Tunatuma onyo ya kwamba yeyote atapatikana anadhulumu mtoto wa kike ama wa kiume atachukuliwa hatua kali kwa mujibu wa sheria.
Following the increase in accidents on the Nakuru Eldoret highway in recent days, some relatives of those who died in the said accidents now want the government to abolish night trips. The families have said that bad roads and the reckless drivers are some of the reasons for the increase in accidents in the area.
Safari za usiku
ni kama zitakuwa za maangamizi kwa watu wetu.
Hizi magari zenye huwa zinakimbia hizi inafaa waemploy madereva wengi, kwa sababu watu wako wengi na wenye wanajua magari.
Serikali wakuwe concerned na wa advise drivers wakuwe careful on driving.
We need to have a dual carriageway from Kibunja, let it be continuous up to Busia.
Penye nachangia ni speed. Wanaenda speed kama umeme, sio kupembeleza magari zao. Wanaenda na hawana haja kwa magari zingine.
And Thailand's new government is moving ahead to pass new legislation banning cannabis for recreational use in a major reversal 18 months after the country became the first in Asia to decriminalize the plant. The relaxed laws saw a lucrative cannabis industry catering to locals and foreigners alike boom across the Southeast Asian nation, but a new conservative coalition government came to power late last year, vowing to tighten the rules and only allow medical use. A draft bill was released by Thailand's health ministry outlining hefty fines or prison sentences of up to 1 year for offenders or both. And US and British naval forces shot down 21 drones and missiles fired by Yemen-based Houthis towards the southern Red Sea, according to the United States, with Britain hinting at further measures to protect international shipping lanes. British Defence Secretary Grant Shapps said it was the largest attack in the area by the militants to date, as the 3-month-long war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza spills over into other parts of the Middle East. US Central Command said no injuries, no damages were reported, adding that this was the 26th Houthi attack on commercial shipping lanes in the Red Sea since November 19th. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 SpiceFM Kisumu.
Okay, what does it look like now? There is little to no movement coming off of Naivasha Road. It's trickling on then to Riara Road. Gong Road is also moving very slowly. And let's take a look at what's happening on Langata Road today. At this point, coming in from that junction at Uhuru Gardens out towards the city, it's going all the way through towards Aerodrome Road. Very, very slow traffic. Some of that spilling over then towards Raila Odinga, where we haven't seen traffic like this for some days. On the Thika Superhighway, it's beyond the Outer Ring Junction now today. And also on Kiambu Road, people move slower when it's raining, right? And so that's what we have now. Also on Limuru Road, also very slow. Waiyaki Way, going towards Chiromo, out towards the city, slow as well. James Gishuru, even slower. And then on Mombasa Road, it doesn't look like it's going to give, at least for now. Still from Hilton, Garden Inn, all the way to Kibwana at the junction. Some of that traffic is now spilling towards outer North Airport Road. So everywhere you look, it's traffic and we're in it. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X. Keep things moving, whichever way.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This
7
is
after 8, we are on to the third hour of the Situation Room, still live on SpiceFM, on KTN Home, on YouTube and on Facebook. Ndu, please remind everybody why they need to go into any local shop and buy Kiwi.
Because there's an opportunity for you to step up and shine beyond the shine of your shoes. Kiwi, after very, very many years in the market, is understanding that, look, every now and then we run into a spot of trouble. You may not have enough for school fees roundabout now. So you can walk into, when you're doing a normal shopping for shoes, for school, and they're saying, okay, we can buy kiwi because this time around, what happens is that once you do, and remember, it's the new logo kiwi, buy a tin of that. There's a code under the lid. You will then dial *459*5# and enter that code in. You can win airtime or data instantly. You then get into a draw. 4 people every week are winning 35,000 shillings. It goes directly to school fees. And everybody knows it's a much needed thing right about now. So how about you walk into a store today, buy a tin of kiwi, and see how you can make sure that school fees is paid this term.
Kabisa. And Siti, why do people need to log into Maramoja and use Maramoja Taxi?
Well, because you have a choice. There are many apps. But you have to actually ask yourself which of these apps serves your purpose well. Maramoja has several advantages. One, when you register, it's easy, it's simple, straightforward. There's really very little fuss. Google, Maramoja Transport Company, then there's a blue logo. That blue. Download that one. When you download it, you'll be asked your name, your phone number, your email address. That's just about it. And then you start. But what I personally liked about it, and I like about it when I use it, is you get a very clear picture of the drivers who are available within the area that you are in, and you are given details. You are told this driver has this vehicle, this driver is several minutes away, you have the number of the driver, all those things. So you can actually call even before you book and to find out that person is available. But what I found interesting is when you do, if you don't go through that process and you actually try to hail the cab, so as we say, if that driver is far away, they are the ones who call you back and say, look, I'm in such and such a place, I'm dropping someone, I will not be able to come except after 20 minutes. So you know, all right? But when they do come and you've agreed on the travel plans, before you actually travel, there's a code that is sent to your phone. There are 2 codes. There's one for starting the journey, there's one for ending the journey. So they even ask you, if you have already arrived, how long do you want me to wait? And you explain. But significantly for us who are in Spice, Maramoja taxis have brought about some additional value. One, when they have a wallet, you can more or less predetermine how much you want to spend, put it in the wallet. You will get the value of 50% of what you have put into the wallet. Immediately you do that. But in addition to that, there's a promo code. If you, as you apply, or you hail the cab and you add the promo code SPICE30, that alone, that automatically gives you another 30%. So what you're saying is that your ride suddenly becomes that much cheaper. But from the drivers whom I've spoken to, when I've used this app, the thing that they are uniform in is saying that this particular app pays them promptly and it pays them well. So,
very good. So use Maramoja Taxi app today, tafadhali, and enjoy all these benefits. 30% discount just because you've used the SPICE30 promo code. Load money onto the wallet, get an extra 50% immediately. It's all good. Continuing with our Justice Thursday conversation, this time let's now go into constitutionalism, right? And one of the foremost constitutional minds in this country is our next guest in the studio, Professor Kibwana. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning. Good morning.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Asante.
Hiyo shati, Prof.
Yes.
Hey, Siti.
Baba, leo nimewezwa
kabisa.
Nimewezwa bwana. Hata sina la kusema.
No, he's matching you very well.
Asante. I'm going to ask mali alipata. Mimi pia nataka shati.
Ni kwa fundi tu wa mtaani.
Bas utanieleza kule naweza kumpata huo fundi wa mtaani.
Huyo fundi. He's done a good job.
Yes.
Good to see you, Prof.
Thank you.
Karibu sana.
Asante na shukuru.
We are going to talk about very many things, of course. You understand our constitution front to back and back to front. You participated in pushing for this new constitution. You participated in writing the constitution and reviewing everything that was being put in the constitution and also implementing the constitution. So we have a good person with us in the studio. To welcome you, CT has the day's proverb. As you know, CT brings us proverbs from one African country every week and different proverbs per day. This week, the proverbs are from the Republic of Kenya. I'm sure you know that country. They are in Kiswahili. He's going to give you the proverb in Kiswahili and you tell us what your interpretation of it is. But first, you'll translate it to English.
This is a proverb that is actually very constitutional, and it blends very well with chapter 1 of our constitution. Let me state the proverb. Hata matumbo ni nyama.
Hata matumbo ni nyama.
Yes.
Okay.
Constitutionally.
Yes, it does.
Okay, that's a tough one. So, matumbo in English is what? Tripe.
Yes.
It's also meat.
Yes.
Hata mkia ni nyama.
Yes.
True. So, so that proverb means that, as far as I'm concerned,
yes,
that when you are in a country and you are able to, like whatever it is that you get in your country, it is something that you should appreciate, and so that you have the rights, but the country continues on well. If you're working and you have a job, you don't say that this job is a small job. You do it to the best of your ability. So really it is, don't minimize anything. You should always be appreciative of what you access, what you get. But it's an interesting proverb.
Now, when the Prof puts it that way, now it becomes a proverb.
Prof, before you came here, these naysayers had told me categorically,
yes,
CT, this is not a proverb. So I said, okay, if you say so.
Yes.
But you put it very well, thank you.
It might be a folk proverb.
Yes.
A recent one.
But thank you very much. Yes.
It's a modern proverb.
Yes.
With modern wahenga.
Yes.
City Muga. Prof,
yes,
a lot's been happening in the country recently. And in fact, the conversation we were having before you came in was with the Vice President of the Law Society of Kenya. And the LSK is rallying lawyers to come out tomorrow in a demonstration against what they say is statements by the President and actions by the executive which seem to be undermining the independence of the judiciary and painting the judiciary in a bad light. And we asked you to join us so that we can have a conversation about what the Constitution says about these three arms of government that then form one unit called government and how they should relate. Interdependence, independence, interdependence. From where you sit, is there an affront on the judiciary by the executive?
I think one of the things that has been stated in the public domain by very many stakeholders is the executive cannot say that I will pick and choose what court orders to obey, because it means that when that happens, the judiciary is undermined. And the truth of the matter is the three arms of government, according to democratic theory, according to our constitution, the three arms of government are separate, although, of course, they must work in unison. In terms of they have different powers. Like if it is the legislature will make the laws that facilitate whatever government is to do. And it will oversight. It will represent people. And it will make a budget. It must approve a budget. So when that happens, then the relay is now taken to the executive so that the executive can implement the programs that through the manifesto of the ruling party have been agreed on and translated also into government programs and projects through people's public participation, through people saying, yes, we accept this is what we want from the ruling party. And of course, the executive will be in charge of foreign policy so that it is our face to the outside world and it converses with the outside world on our behalf. Now, when there are disputes, then the judiciary comes in. And these can be disputes citizen intersays citizen. It might be, government and citizen. It might be private sector or actors, whatever nature of disputes there are. And those disputes are resolved by the judiciary. And nobody else has the capacity to resolve disputes unless a law says that if like some tribunals do that. And it is the responsibility of the executive to enforce court judgments, because after the judiciary says that this is the decision, it has to be obeyed. And if there is any person who does not want to obey, then it is up to the executive to enforce decisions, and even the judiciary itself as enforcement mechanisms, like they can take you to prison if you are not paying, some fine and so on. So this analogy of separation of powers, of course, interdependence, one can almost say that the analogy of the Trinity in the Christian faith, the three of them are equal and they are one, but there is a Father and there is a Son and there is the Holy Spirit. So they have to work together, and therefore, if you try to do what someone else is supposed to do, then that is not constitutional. And this is the struggle that we are having in the instance where the president says that there are certain court rulings that he may not want to follow. And of course, one asks, because during his campaign, he was very eloquent in terms of the rule of law, in terms of the judiciary fund, in terms of appointing judges which had not been appointed by the former president. And so those were very many signals. And talking to many lawyers, they were really happy. They were saying, okay, now maybe this is the rule of law that we are going to experience. So this reversal is definitely worrying.
It's catching many by surprise.
Precisely, it's touching many by surprise, and it's kind of almost taking us back to those one-party days when the Constitution was really, the Independence Constitution was changed so many times so that even the president appointed the judges. When he didn't like their decisions, he got them out. He appointed some which did what they wanted. And so, yes, one should be worried that the executive is, for example, going into parliament, and in the parliament, even members of the opposition who, by law, are not supposed to leave their parties unless they resign. And somehow they are made to kind of sing the song of the executive.
So, Prof, are we saying then, when we look at interdependence and independence, and we look at these three arms of government, which you say are supposed to work together, would you then say that there is either a lack of understanding in how those roles should play out, or is there a thinking that as the executive that you are the blue-eyed boy of government and that you can do what you want regardless of what the law, the Constitution, says?
Yes, I don't think it's a lack of understanding, because the players that are sitting on the political table are seasoned people. They were part of, in many ways, writing the Constitution. And so one cannot say that they are innocently doing things that the Constitution says should not be done. I think, of course, I feel a frustration. I feel a frustration like when the president wants certain things to be done very fast. And maybe some of the people who are helping him to design them do not follow the procedures and do not follow the constitution, do not follow procurement law and all that, public participation law and all that. So when now it's the moment to kind of implement and demonstrate that some things are happening, then when people go to court, as they should, because they have a right to do that, then the court says there are some steps which have been bypassed. Therefore, go back and do it the correct way. So I can feel that frustration. But I don't think that it's because there isn't an understanding of what needs to be done. Somebody like poor Omtata, I don't think he has money to bribe anybody. When I look at him, I can think that I see somebody who doesn't have a lot of money. So the things that he does, even going to, chain himself sometimes, the police station and so on, I don't think that judges are acting because somebody is bribing like Omtata and so on. Maybe that's not really it, but it's just a question of a country wanting to mature so that we incrementally implement the constitution, because that is actually one of the central problems in the country, that we pay lip service to the rule of law, we pay lip service to constitutionalism, we pay lip service to implementing the constitution. And of course, there are many people who didn't even want this current constitution and they opposed it. So I don't think that, therefore, as we have asked, it's a question of people not knowing the right thing to do. But it's like this idea in Africa, it's big man syndrome, because they had very many women at the top in the countries, maybe Tanzania. They are beginning to say that we have no electricity and, we talk a lot of English and all that. So that big man syndrome of I must have my way, and I am the one who was elected by the majority of the people. The judiciary is appointed. The legislature, MPs have been only elected by a constituency, senators maybe by a county, women rep by a county. So there is that thinking, but I believe we need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical. If you first of all do not accept their roles, if you don't encroach on their roles, and whatever it is that this system that was constructed of the constitution, this negotiated system, whatever it says should happen, if that is allowed to happen, like countries, Singapore, what they did and so on, that example is given a lot of time, then we are in a good place.
Let me ask you, Prof, you're an academic, you're a rights defender, you're also a politician. The president has attempted to explain his statements using politics and saying, look, I was elected by a majority of Kenyans because I sold something to them. And I told them that if you elect me, I'm going to do this. And when I'm trying to implement that, there are other people who are playing politics and using the one instrument or one arm of government to frustrate this move that I'm making so that I can fulfill my promise. And he's saying that he reads political maneuvers where people are going with flimsy applications before court, and then they're finding judges who are rather too happy or too quick to put orders to stop the progress of this program of his. Is there merit in what he's saying?
Well, I think we must first of all concede that the president and the executive and the Kenya Kwanza administration has the right to implement what they promised the people. But usually the sequence is, when you have a manifesto, it must be translated into programs that, first of all, are bought again by the people through thorough public participation. That's number one. Number two, You then look for money through Parliament. Number 3, of course, you plan how you are going to execute, and you plan how you are going to procure. So that continuum has to be done in the way in which the Constitution and the laws say. The moment you do that, then you're home and you're
safe.
You're safe. You're safe. So the problem is when those steps are skipped. So that if anybody goes to court, then it means that you will not achieve what you must achieve as fast as you should. So I don't think it's a question of some people being so trigger happy to shoot the president's programs. It is really with these new people that he has appointed, because it's not the president who gets the programs on the ground as such. He has the vision, he has the idea, but then these cabinet secretaries, these principal secretaries, and so on, have to help him. And unfortunately, some of them are new in the game. They may not have immediately the kind of experience that is required to execute as fast as possible. So, and I even think that the Chief Justice told the President, why don't we have, a dialogue? And that was gracious, offline, so that we can explain these cases which have come before the judiciary. What are the things that we have noticed were not done correctly, so that they can be remedied, so that we are within the four corners of the Constitution and of law. And I think that even like the former president, the service delivery unit.
Yes.
So even in this instance, I'm sure there is a service delivery unit. We should really help the traditional cabinet secretary and the principal secretary and so on. And therefore, it's our wish, myself as a citizen, it's our wish that these programs are really implemented as quickly as possible throughout the country, so that we begin to see what the Kenya Kwanza administration is offering to us.
Before we go to a break, Prof, 10 years as a governor, right? Even before that, you are serving in the executive of the national government. This constitution and what it puts in place as, following due process. Following due process translates to take time.
Yes.
Citizens are not patient. So how do you balance between that? I mean, you promised Huduma, not Huduma, you promised a hustler fund, you promised houses, you promised jobs, you promised this and the other. And then all those things requires you public participation, policy, legislation, go to parliament, come out of parliament, go into budget, put it in budget, and then start rolling out a program. Boss, that's 3 years.
Well, from my experience, working in Kibaki's government, working in Makueni, even by the time you have a manifesto, before even the elections, you begin to think about how am I going to implement. So that when you win, then it's not like you're beginning at that particular point in terms of saying, what is it that we need to do?
Continuing.
Precisely. So, and then, of course, sometimes in the first year of a government, there are problems because people are beginning to learn the ropes. But of course, our president has been a minister for a long time, both in Moi government and in Kibaki government, and deputy president for 10 years. So he's not a newcomer. And so, yes, the people want services quickly. And maybe there are some low-hanging fruits which you can start with. But when it comes to complicated projects, if you rush them, if you don't follow due process, if you don't follow the procedures, that is when we begin to have now incidents of corruption. And you'll remember, like all these big projects, like the dams and so on, which were done maybe hastily. At the end, even when you have procured and you have done all those things very hastily, you don't deliver. So this is why sometimes people say the law is an ass, because it really requires you to do things correctly. But again, it's how you strategize and how you really plan what you want to do so that you can do it as fast as possible. And after you begin one project, the easier ones first, then you do the harder ones, and people see delivery of something and so on. And of course, again, the truth of the matter is there isn't also a lot of money in the country even to do those projects, because if we are paying 70% debt and 30%, now everything else, that is development and paying salaries and taking money to the county governments and all that, it also means that there might not be that much money to do as many things as you had promised.
Let's take a break. 26 to 9. Kibwana is our guest this morning. He's a former governor of Makueni County. He had served as advisor to President Mwai Kibaki. He had served in the Mwai Kibaki government also as an assistant minister. I remember you were in Gambo at a certain point. In environment.
And also as Minister of Environment and
Minister of Lands.
For 17 months, two ministries together.
Yeah. Anyway. He's also an academic. He's our guest. We are talking about understanding the Constitution and what the Constitution says about those three arms of government. They are separate, yes, but how do they work together? We'll be back shortly.
Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that Sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry.
Hapo. You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Some very nice, mature music.
It really took me back to my days, and I can just feel get and enjoy the vibe.
Nairobi, still a trickle of rain, 18 and cloudy in Nakuru, 16 and cloudy in Nyeri, and 16 and cloudy in Eldoret. We're looking at sunny conditions now in Mombasa at 27, and Kisumu sunny at 29, 23 and partly sunny that was Malindi at 29, Kisumu partly sunny at 23, and Kakamega partly sunny at 20. Kampala rain showers continue at 20, and they do the same in Dar es Salaam at 27. Johannesburg is now cloudy after the morning rain at 17, and Mogadishu at 28 is sunny. It's 13 and sunny in Addis Ababa, with mostly clear conditions in Lagos at 26, and cloudy at 24 in Kinshasa.
Welcome to SpiceFM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever.
Everybody taking turns this morning, and heavy traffic on Langata Road right about now. It's decreased on Mombasa Road, so we'll keep an eye on that. But we're looking at some traffic coming from Cabanas towards North Airport Road, still busy on the Thika Superhighway, and into the CBDs where most of this is going today. Gong Road is busy. Western's not too bad. Limuru Road ebbing and flowing with traffic. We're keeping an eye on all of this and see what happens as we get through traffic hour. Let us know what's happening where you are on SpiceFM KE on X.
spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings
continues with Professor Kibwana. We are talking about constitutionalism in the country. City?
You know, I am glad that even as we're going into the break, we talked about the time when, Prof, you were a minister. Now, what I'm looking at is some of the reasons we give for certain things not happening in a certain way. When you come into a ministry, you find a fully functioning ministry, even if you're a minister. Before you, after you, it functions.
Yes.
There are people who ensure these things function.
Yes.
The PS may not be there, but the people below, who work below, they very rarely get changed. And they know, they're like the worker bees. They know exactly what happens, where and how. I'm taking this line for a simple reason. When we try to explain why it is certain things don't happen in a certain way, say for instance within a ministry or government, it more or less suggests that government doesn't have a continuum, and government does have a continuum. There's institutional memory, and there are people who actually know this. So if something is wrong, is it the system or is it the person who is then the president and his decision-making process that is faulty? Because I don't think it's for lack of sufficient advice or knowledge on how things ought to be done. Because if that knowledge was lacking, then the ministries wouldn't function, and they do function.
Yes, it's true that in countries which succeed, they really prioritize the public service. They really want a first-class public service which is well remunerated, so that it can commit to public work. And it's very professional, continuous training, and all that kind of stuff. And even the example I cited earlier of Singapore, they decided that they were going to pay them as they pay as people in the private sector are paid, so that they have no reason to say that I have to do some other thing. And to a large extent, they even said, if you are in the public service, you can't do private sector work.
Yes.
You have to concentrate on this, take a break until you're out of the public service, make a choice. So in our instance, I can say for real that the public service, the ordinary public service like directors and below, those are in the national government. Actually, it is probably one of the most professional public services on the continent. I would like to say that.
Well trained.
Well trained. And even Kenya School of Government is a premier institution of training public servants.
Yes.
Now, leadership is so critical.
Yes.
Leadership from the minister, leadership from the permanent secretary, from now those are people within a ministry. So when they come in, usually you should first of all be told what is happening in the ministry. Who is who? What do they do? And you should now, in terms of now the budget that you have, they help you to do the nitty-gritty of the programs. So a problem now arises if there is both the leadership of the ministry as well as the public servants below, directors and so on, if they are not in sync. If somebody feels that I'm very minister or I'm very public principal secretary, these guys say, okay, we'll give our time, so that they'll realize that if there's that harmonious, relationship, then things will go faster. So, without necessarily being very critical of the president's decisions in terms of appointing his ministers and his principal, secretaries and some people who are in the very important commissions. If you appoint people who don't have a lot of experience, and then they come in and they do not understand this system of the public service, then initially you will have some problems. And maybe you'll reach a point when you rethink and try to rectify that, or, God willing, the people you have appointed will mature and will know the ropes, and then they will deliver.
You know, that brings us to a conversation that we were having in 2022 during the nominations of PSs and CSs. And some of the deep debates that we were having here were, should principal secretaries not rise from the public service?
Actually, when principal secretaries rise from the public service, that helps you tremendously. Because this is somebody who, from the word go, is going to help you implement your program. And of course, you know, there is the mixture, because some will come from the private sector, from academia, from the NGO sector, and so on. But on the whole, if many of them come from the public service, then you even give confidence to that public service. And they, as they work, their colleagues, you know, who they were working with, are freer with them, and they'll be able to tell them that, you know, this is what, you know, requires to be done. Because, as I said earlier, the public service should be able to carry a country, even if there is a problem in the political class, like in America during Trump. The public service is so entrenched and experienced that even with faltering leadership within the executive, still the country moves on, and that is how it should be in, you know, democratic spaces.
So why did we end up with this thing in our constitution?
How did we end up
with this provision in our constitution, where the president is then able to appoint principal secretaries from outside the public service? Was it lack of foresight? Was it an oversight by the drafters of our constitution?
The initial thing was that he can appoint, or she can appoint, from the cabinet secretaries from outside. It was felt that since we had adopted a presidential system, then the ministers or the cabinet secretaries come outside parliament. So that was the rationale. But for principal secretaries, they can be actually they can be sourced from
within the ranks of the public service.
Ranks, and file of the public service. But the idea of the ministers was that since it's a presidential system, they cannot be in parliament, and even there was an innovation for them to start coming to parliament to answer questions, and it hasn't quite worked well, because it's supposed to be now through committees, not parliament directly. So that is constitutional structure. If one day we were to change our country and go back to a parliamentary system, or an hybrid of a parliamentary system, and that is a massive change, which would require, you know, big referendum and big national conversation, then we could have ministers appointed from MPs and from senators and all that kind of stuff. But the idea of the 2010 constitution was that if you're an MP, you have a lot of work. Concentrate on that. So that you can't be a minister at the same time. That was the idea. That was our idea. But we have to evaluate how well it has worked.
Where we are. There's also something else that's been bothering me, and looking at our presidents and the kind of advice that they're getting, which ends up in the courts, and the courts sort of reversing some of the decisions that have been taken by the executive. But you have to ask yourself, the chief advisor, legal advisor to the president is the Attorney General. And if you look at our attorneys general over the last years, they've been seasoned jurists. Is it that the seasoned jurists are actually giving sound advice to their boss, but then the boss has to put in other considerations and they don't go with the sound advice that they're getting? Or is it that the jurists are actually giving the president unsound advice? If you look at the former president and the very many decisions that went against the executive in the courts, if you look at this president and already the decisions that are going against the executive in this court, you'd ask yourself, but some of these things are so basic. Who advised the president?
Well, you didn't talk about Kibaki, and I'm happy you didn't, because
you are the legal advisor.
Not really. I was not the legal advisor. I was
you were in the kitchen.
You were a political advisor.
I was kind of in the kitchen, invisible, many times. The Attorney General is the chief legal advisor to the president.
Is it president or government?
To the government, including even county governments, because he can even go to court on behalf of county governments.
Yeah.
So in legal matters, he will advise appropriately, but the president has also many other advisors, security, economics, and all that kind of stuff. So, and of course, the cabinet secretary is the principal advisor of the president in relation to that docket. And so, advice is always a tricky thing, because one, it has to be correct advice. It has to be proper advice. It has to be reasonable advice, professional, and all that. So that is one aspect. The other aspect is, do you accept to be advised? Do you take the advice? Like if I can go back a little to Kibaki, and it's not because we worked closely, but he would seek advice, and he would actually do that a lot. And I remember Ambassador Mudaura, he would, on major things, he would call people and they would discuss for a long time. There would be PowerPoints, and he would question, even before things go to cabinet, he would question, and one thing about him, maybe, he was an old guy, was he didn't feel that anybody was above him, and these were kids and his kids, and they were younger, and they are good. He was Makerere, London School of Economics, so like President Ruto, PhD. He didn't have PhD, but President Ruto has PhD, so he didn't feel that he can't interact with ideas. Okay. So you put them on the table, he interacts with them, and he says, yes, this makes sense. So I think all this advice that is coming through, must be processed. And I think when it is processed by the executive, by people in government, then it becomes useful. If it is not processed, if it's not sound advice, and if it is not processed, if it's sound advice and it's not processed, but I think still one has to say that the president has been president for a year and a little, and before he wasn't. And usually when governments are starting, there are hiccups, and one hopes that these hiccups are going to subside within this year. Okay, so as with everything, when you see signs, you'll see signs of something, and they'll tell you, if you see the sign, that means that something is coming. You see dark clouds, it's going to be rain. If you see, other things, okay, well, something might happen. You've talked and put, there are very many pieces. Could it come together in how you then say that things are actually going in the country today? Whether we're talking about what's happening with the utterances made about the judiciary, whether we're talking about what's happening with public service, put those pieces together. From the mouth of a man who, when he was at the county government, things were not going so well. And what did you say? You said, okay, well, let's collapse this house of cards and start from the beginning. Went back for re-election. People decided, well, okay, let's give it back to you. But you said, okay, things are not going well. Let's split the whole thing. Take that kind of perspective and tell us what you see with all these different pieces, whether they be signs or anything. How would you say that the country is performing at the moment? Kenya is a complicated country. Our politics also are quite complicated. Kenya is not one of those countries where the leader can do whatever he likes and nobody will, say much. They will wait and they will be happy. that the leader is telling them everything. Kenya has grown to the extent that one must appreciate that it will be collective government. And I think that's one of the most important things to realize as leadership, that you work towards developing consensus all the time. And therefore, like in the Makueni case, I think it was a radical decision because what the county assembly was asking then meant that we couldn't actually have a government. Because if they ask for a quarter of the budget and there are 100, the MCAs and the workers, and the rest of the people are about 1 million, then it can't work. And they were insisting. So I said, there will be no government, and I don't want to run a sham government. But I think in our situation now, I cannot say that, things have gotten out of hand to the extent that they can't be remedied. And as I said earlier, I appreciate that this is first year going to second year of the government. However, I think, and I say this in, a lot of respect to the president, because that is always necessary. It is time to breathe in and breathe out, and take a moment, off a bit, and then ask. Sometimes you go on a retreat, maybe with a few people, maybe and then you ask, what is it that is happening, and what is not happening, and what aren't we getting right, and to converse with the opposition, to converse with the judiciary, because with also the county governments, so that you can pause a deterioration of things. And even to explain certain things, like if it's some of the taxes, are they, like the housing levy, for example, is it really to build houses for hustlers, or is it to make money available to pay debts? So that you tell people, the reality is, country people, we are in a big hall. Ghana has defaulted, Zambia has defaulted, Ethiopia has defaulted, and we are on the brink. So, like in Korea, actually, I think in the 50s or so, they had debt. And there, the people were told clearly, we have debt and we have to pay this debt. And people began to contribute money to pay the debt. Even women would take their jewelry and give it to government so that government could pay the debt. There was that patriotism. And I think the president, like when he was campaigning, as I said in a particular piece, he was very persuasive. And he said, the people who don't have, I'm your guy, and we are going to do great things. So he needs to come back, to that person he was, and I would imagine person he is, so that actually I was reflecting in terms of countries also need a father or mother figure. Kenyatta, at beginning of independence, he was such a father figure. But as he went on, I think sometimes in the university we used to call him Kamaliza, which was not a very good thing to call an old man. But he was a father figure. Moi, before the coup, came out as a father figure. I think Kibaki was kind of consistently a father figure, although he didn't talk much, but you felt that I'm secure. Many decisions which are taken are the decisions of a father figure. Let me jump Uhuru Kenyatta. Ruto, when he was campaigning, we were seeing a father figure. When he was campaigning, somebody who will, kind of take care of the business of everybody. Now, when he says things that are dramatically in contradiction to his promises, then now people say, well, is this still our father figure? And I'm saying this to say that he needs to realize that even at 57, 58 or so, is a father figure of a country, and a country depends on
Baba
him.
wa taifa.
It depends on him in a positive way, not the father who beats people and abuses people and all that. Uhuru was like the friend of the young people. So he, he
was
says,
a younger uncle.
Uncle, and is it when they go a little dancing and so on, he can dance, he's happy, he's so on and so forth. That's another type of politics. I didn't jump him.
Cleverly come back to it. Prof, thank you very much for joining us today, and we hope to have you again many more times this year. What are you up to nowadays? Where are you spending your time?
Nowadays, I take it easy. Like when you invite me, I come. I like to work with young people, like mentoring young people, playing with my grandchildren. I like that also, and also thinking through writing and research what can get our country, Africa, to go to the next stage, including even the counties that we did in devolution, that we didn't talk about, because even there is separation of powers. The executive and the county assembly, even there, they must understand that so that we can progress devolution. But I'm very happy to be in this space. It's a hot seat, and I haven't sweated a lot.
We are three young people. Come and spend more time with us. Professor Kibwana has been our guest. Keep it here for more conversations. Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. A section of Law Society of Kenya members have urged the executive to use available constitutional means to lodge complaints against members of the judiciary who are accused of being corrupt. Led by Omwanza Ombati, who is eyeing the position of Law Society of Kenya male representative to the Judicial Service Commission in the upcoming elections, the LSK members warned that continued attacks on the judiciary risk eroding public confidence in the institution. They faulted the executive for allegedly reneging on the pledge to respect the independence of the judiciary. They spoke during Ombati's presentation of his nomination papers at the Law Society of Kenya offices. Police have commenced investigations into a shooting incident in Kisii where several people were injured. Unknown individuals are reported to have stormed a meeting convened by Governor Simbarati before hurling tear gas and shooting indiscriminately. The Monday incident received condemnation from Kisii County Security Committee. The County Commissioner, Tom Nyeri, says that investigations are underway and called on those with crucial information to come forward. Area leaders have called on the relevant authorities to take legal action against the legislator. MP Silvanus Osoro has since distanced himself from the incident, saying he was within the area to disburse bursaries and launch roads when he learned of the fracas. Milimani Law Court's Principal Magistrate Gilbert Shikwe has issued a warrant of arrest against 10 suspects accused of assaulting journalists at a city bar. The suspects are part of 11 others who appeared in court. Now, the suspects pleaded not guilty to the 7 charges before them, including 3 counts of assault causing actual bodily harm, 3 counts of assault in execution of duty, and selling shisha. The court released the bouncers on a cash bail of 30,000 shillings, while the shisha seller was released on 10,000 shillings cash bail. The case has been scheduled for pre-trial on 24th of January 2024. The bouncers, alongside other employees, attacked journalists from several media houses and Nakuru officials on 5th of January during a shisha raid. The government now says it has achieved a 6.9% in the job creation program, particularly in the formal sector. Government spokesperson Isaac Mwaura said job opportunities have subsequently increased from 2.9 million to 3.1 million in the last year. Public Service Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria termed the achievement a great milestone, bearing in mind that millions of Kenyans are jobless. This even as he called on Kenyans to give the Kenya Kwanza administration ample time to deliver on their pledges. The Kenya Kwanza the government took stock of achievements made so far in 3 ministries, 16 months in office, in an initiative dubbed Government Roadshow. The focus was on the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection, Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports, as well as the Ministry of Agriculture. And the driver of the 47-seater bus involved in a crash that killed 15 people on the Nakuru Eldoret highway has been arrested. Clement Kiarie, who was driving the Classic King bus, was detained at the Mount Summit police station pending his arraignment. 8 adults and 7 children, including 5 girls and 2 boys, died in the 2:45 a.m. incident. Kiarie is expected to be arraigned in court today. Kenya's plan to commission its first nuclear research reactor by 2030 has received a major enforcement following the successful conclusion of an international review mission. A team of experts from the International Atomic Energy Agency commended Kenya's preparatory steps while on a tour of the country's nuclear infrastructure. The specialist to member experts from India and the United States, alongside 6 IAEA staffers, were in Kenya mid-December at the invitation of the government. Andriy Sitikov, who led the 9-day review mission, spoke highly of Kenya's professional approach to the development of its research reactor program. And the global unemployment rate will increase slightly in 2024. A report by the United Nations has raised concerns about stagnant productivity, worsening inequalities, and inflation biting into disposable income. The UN's labor agency said the economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic has slowed down, with ongoing geopolitical tensions and persistent inflation triggering aggressive moves by central banks. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Patrick Lodge, Otieno Lumumba. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
CT Muga.
CT Lodge.
Muga, not Muga.
He's here, and here's the day's proverb.
One man marries a woman, another man marries troubles.
Is he the same man?
Spice.
A lion cannot eat more than 2 donkeys. It would die a natural death because there is no ICU in the forest. In Kenya, it has become the situation that you cannot conduct 2 elections. In fact,
with the same IBC.
You can't.
I told you about this Indian friend of mine who was enjoying other Indians in the group. He wrote the word valve and told them, read it.
So how did he say it? I really want to know.
The valve. Because kina Edna, it's the, like you said, the bees and the peas. Kila kitu mkisia kisema atasema opposite.
Opposite?
Ukisema hii anasema opposite.
Opposite.
Ukisikiliza namna hii unasikia opposite.
The Situation Room, Spice. The only way to start your day.
Okay, so after the morning showers, let's take a look at what's happening here. Coming in from Cabanas towards North Airport Road, just a little bit of the left, and on Gong Road, I think we're seeing the end of traffic coming off Magadi Road and then touching on Langata Road as you head out towards the city. It's then heaviest as you get towards Aerodrome. But on the Thika Superhighway is where we see the thickest of it right now, coming in from Survey out then towards the CBD. But everywhere else seems to have settled down significantly. Yes, that issue on Mombasa Road more or less been sorted out by now. Hopefully we will keep this construction to the nighttime where not many people are on the roads. Okay, so whatever's happening on Kangunda Road, much better now. Outering is flowing without too much of an issue, and Jogo Road out towards Landis, and then touching on Kamkunji at the roundabout, heading into the CBD and outbound as well. Not too much of an issue. We're coming up to the end of traffic hour in not too long from now. We're still keeping an eye on things. Let us know what's going on where you are, and we'll keep it moving this morning. Let's talk on Spice FM. KE on X.
This This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
All right,
the only way to start your day.
Situation Room this morning, still live on YouTube, on Facebook, and SpiceFM. Ndu, the importance of buying kiwi.
Shine your shoes.
Yes, shine your shoes.
Shine your
Protect
shoes. Yes.
and preserve.
Shine and protect, preserve. Also, shine your life. Yes.
Yes.
So it's January.
Mm-hmm.
Things are, on the economic side, a bit thick.
January.
Yes. And kids going back to school, all sorts of things happening at the same time. So Kiwi says, look, guys, let's step up and shine regardless. Let's show up no matter what. So walk into any supermarket today or your Duka shop, buy a tin of Kiwi with the new logo. On that tin, there is a starburst. *459 *5# is the number there. What you want to do is you want to dial that number.
Yes.
Input the code.
Yes.
You get some airtime or data instantly. You also get...
That's guaranteed.
Yes.
Okay.
They'll decide whether you're on airtime or you're on data that day.
Mm-hmm.
Then you enter into a draw, yes?
Mm-hmm.
And 4 people every week winning 35,000 shillings goes towards school fees. It's a good thing. It takes care of so many things at once. If you're imagine if you are in a public school today, you get 35,000 shillings. That takes care of everything. Takes care of everything.
It sorts you out
completely.
Properly.
Buy some Kiwi, get sorted.
And that's all you need to do.
Yep.
And it continues. So it started we had this whole conversation in December. It's still ongoing. So you can still buy Kiwi today and get into a draw. Buy more than one tin of Kiwi. I mean, your kids are going to school. They are going to use more than one tin of Kiwi in a term. Just buy many. You'll enter into many draws and you have many more chances of being the winner. Also, as you think about moving up and down, around and around and about, think about moving with Maramoja Taxi. And so it is here to tell us why.
Well, you have many choices. As we would say, you're spoiled for choices, really. But let me talk about my lived experience, okay? First of all, when you want to register, it's a very simple process. You Google Maramoja Transport Company, and then there's this blue logo. And they ask you your name, your email address, phone number, simple. But what I liked is when you then go to you're told to proceed, and you want to select or hail a taxi, there's a very big size picture of the drivers. And you're told, and you flip through where they are, the vehicle they drive, the experience, history. You can actually tell. And then you choose whoever it is. But of interest is the communication. If you call or if you don't, the moment you choose, they will call you and they will ask you. And you'll have a conversation and they'll tell you where they are. If they are coming, they'll tell you, should I come immediately or should I come after, say, 5 minutes?
Yes.
If they are not, they will tell you, I am not nearby, I'm dropping someone, whatever the conversation. Can you wait? If you can't wait, maybe you should get another driver and so forth. But the key thing that I found strange and different from other apps that I have used is there's a code without which you cannot start your journey. And there's a code without which the journey cannot be considered to have ended. And without which the payment that will have been indicated cannot be paid. So it's like there are multiple security features all the way. But the thing that I found, again, peculiar and interesting is when talking to the drivers is what they say about the services themselves. They say they have many other apps, but this one pays them the best. Yes.
This one is giving them more money.
Yes, they say they get literally that. They get more money from it.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good. And they're in business for money, right?
Oh, that's really their business, yes.
Maramoja taxis are available in Nairobi, in Mombasa, in Nakuru, in Naivasha, in Kisumu, in Eldoret. Across the country, Bwana. many cabs. And in fact, they were saying, you know what, we are vetting them so well. In fact, we're going to reduce even the number so that we make sure that they are even earning more. Our next conversation is on business. And as we were promoting this conversation earlier, City, we talked about leasing and what we understand by leasing and asset, leasing and financing. And we give the example of what we know, police vehicles.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So we see police vehicles nowadays. It's not those days of go to a police station and the police vehicle does not even have a lights.
What light?
Gari hayazi ngoma, gari kujuya mawe. Right? Nowadays, bana, cops are in this constantly swanky looking vehicles. In fact, you wonder, kwani gari ya police ipatangi accident nowadays? Because they don't have dents.
No, they don't.
It's all because of leasing. Because the vehicle is actually leased to them by a company, and the company is taking care of all those things, servicing the vehicle, tire kisha naeka tire, gasket ikichomeka wana replace gasket, ukigonga taa gari ya polisi inagongangwa taa wana replace taa, all those things. Now, does it happen beyond what we see in public service in police? And
yes,
you've seen it in private sector.
And also, importantly, why is it important? Why is it important that we should understand leasing?
Yeah.
How does it relate to us on a day-to-day basis?
Exactly.
Yeah, because what some of us are used to is you go to the bank and beg for a loan, or you go to your circle and beg even more for a loan, but that is more simpler. You beg people to support you to get that loan. We understand that. Now, this leasing concept...
Leasing story.
Yes, in an earlier time, some of us, when you wanted to buy something like furniture, there was Africa retail traders.
Higher purchase.
Yeah, that one we understood was lease also, because unalipa pole pole, ukikosa kulipa unakuja wanachukua. Yes.
Lease over.
Our next guest is an asset leasing finance expert. His name is Bosire Bogonko. Bosire, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you very much.
Karibu sana. How does it feel?
Quite hot already. It's already boiling.
Buana.
I need a cup of water.
Sure.
Oh,
you need water?
Inakuja.
Edna. Saidia Bosire kikombe
ya maji.
Usimletee na chupa. To welcome you to the conversation, City has the day is like a proverb. This week, the proverbs are from the Republic of Kenya. You've been to that country.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I think so.
They are in Kiswahili. So listen to the proverb, and then you first of all translate it to English.
Translate it to English.
And then you give us your interpretation of it.
Jeez, okay.
Aye.
It's a simple proverb. We determined in the previous hour it was a constitutional proverb, and it's something that gets to the heart of very many things and many people in Kenya. Hata matumbo ni nyama.
Hata matumbo ni nyama. Even the entrails constitute meat.
Entrails.
Tumesikia very many words.
I'm telling you, we've not heard entrails yet this morning. I like it.
What was the first one?
Offals.
Offals, yeah.
The second one was? No, Prof called it? Tripe.
Tripe, yeah.
Yes.
Same.
Then now we are in?
It tells you whether he went for further education. They call it tripe there.
Tripe.
Yes.
And there's entrails.
Entrails, yes.
Even entrails?
But these days you can Google.
You can
Google. Gives you
Google.
all the options. Eh?
Yes.
Yeah, but from just the basic understanding is that you should not discriminate any part of an animal. What can be consumed because it gives you nourishment, because that's what you're looking for, nourishment. So for me, that's what I can look at it. So whatever comes your way in life, you take it as it is. Come on in by, you just hang in there. Somehow it's gonna go through. Don't complain and say, oh, that guy's doing better than me. Just focus on your journey.
Brother, when you mention nourishment, this one I have to ask, because I've heard people say this. What's the nourishment when you eat hooves?
Fiber.
So the hooves are used for something else, but there are many components in the and the thing that
stop looking at me.
the thing that is amusing is that traditionally we used to consume a very big portion of a cow or a goat, for example, when we killed it. These days we just want to eat steak and we forget about anything else. We used to eat the head, we used to eat the tongue, we used to eat the heart, the liver,
intestines.
Then you use the skin for something else, use the hoof for something else.
Yes,
exactly. So, I think we somewhere along the way we missed the river by a boat.
You've stopped eating those things.
I didn't start. So in the first place. So now I'm learning slowly as I'm getting older that actually there are other more important things than steak in the cow or the goat.
Bosire, what is asset leasing and asset leasing finance?
So the leasing concept is around utilization. So for a company or a person, they need equipment to be able to carry out their business. So, for example, a manufacturing company needs vehicles to transport its goods after finishing to the market. There are various ways they can be able to acquire this asset. One is that they have cash in their pocket, they go to the dealer, they buy. Or they have got a facility to the bank, they go and get a loan, they buy the asset. These two concepts essentially give the ownership of the asset to the person who has bought.
Yeah.
Leasing tries to remove that ownership from the person who is consuming that asset and tries to make the person just focus on utilizing the asset, drawing out its economic value and not getting the risks and rewards that come with ownership, because there are many risks and rewards that come with ownership. So in essence, it's just a contract which allows somebody who has an asset but has no use of it to lease or rent to a person who is in need of that asset but doesn't want ownership, and for a period of time, and there's a financial consideration that is done or is paid on a monthly or quarterly basis. So in a simple nutshell, it's that simple. So for example, if the best example that everybody knows is rent.
Yes.
If you start a company and you want to open an office in town, you go, you get an office space, they give you a contract. You sign the contract for 5 years with an exit, let's say, for 3 years. You pay a rent for that period of time of 5 years. But at the end of the 5 years, you don't own the asset. You don't own the building.
You leave the
office. So if you want to leave,
space.
you exit the office. If you want to continue, you sign a new contract extending the lease. So in a simple nutshell, that's a perfect example of a lease.
So lease and rent are synonymous.
They are synonymous. So even the payments are called rentals. Yeah, so they are synonymous. So you just when you rent something, you just want to use it. You're not concerned about ownership. So in the case of asset leasing, that when you go now to the other equipment like motor vehicles or manufacturing equipment or fridges, whatever, laptops, you're essentially targeting companies because they derive economic value from those assets. So if it's a manufacturing company, they know they can be able to produce goods with their production plant, sell those goods and be able to generate income to do what? Pay the rentals. So there's a direct link that you need to have economic value from the asset that you're leasing. Yeah.
So essentially what we're saying now is that if we're looking at it from a business point of view, okay, so we get it. I mean, we talked about, we saw other things as well. Supermarkets, retail chains, renting shelves and things like that. So all you're doing is providing the service. You're coming, putting the goods on the shelf, you continue with the business. We can see with the police renting a vehicle, so they don't deal with maintenance and things like that. What then makes it attractive for businesses, for assets? See, now I'm confused. Leasing. Right? Yeah. What makes it attractive for even startups, young businesses who are getting into it, maybe don't have capital to purchase everything that you need to start? What else then makes it attractive for you? Say, this is actually the way you can go and push the business angles.
So let's give an example of the police with the motor vehicle. Or let's give any example of somebody who is leasing a motor vehicle. So first of all, there's aspect of the initial capital you need to acquire those vehicles. So if you don't have that capital, or you may have the capital, but you have got many needs, right? So you want to expand your plant or whatever. So there's competing needs for this money. So you go for the leasing, because the leasing, asset leasing allows you to be able to acquire those assets for utilization without investing initially. So that already frees up your capital to use it for other things in your business. For example, expanding your capacity, etc. For the motor vehicle, for example, asset leasing is what we call a bundle service. So not only do you get the motor vehicle, but there are two options here. So there's one which is called a dry lease. A dry lease is where you get the motor vehicle, it is insured, and there is tracking.
Okay.
Now the responsibility of the person who leases, or is called a lessee, will be to maintain the vehicle. service and maintenance. The second option is something called a wet lease. Now, a wet lease has got all the three I've said, plus service. Now, service can come in two forms. You can price just the regular services, which are scheduled. So this guy, when he gets that one with the scheduled services, he knows he has a vehicle, it is insured, it has got tracking, and when it's supposed to go for service, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 kilometers, he just takes it to the OEM, they service the vehicle, and he continues using the asset. Then there's a full maintenance lease where it now includes the other maintenance aspects which are not regular. You know, a vehicle as it gets older, at some point some other things start breaking down. So those ones are not regular maintenance services, but that can be included in that bundled service. So now the person who leases that vehicle can focus on their core business. Literally focus on their core business. So if they're a manufacturer, they'll focus on just producing their product and putting it to the market, because now they know if they've got a full maintenance lease, the vehicle is in, out. When it's supposed to be serviced, it goes to the service center, it is serviced. When insurance is due, they don't even think about it, because the lessor, who is the person who has leased to them, knows that this insurance is ending on this date, I need to renew it, etc. Then there are also other financial considerations. So if you own the asset, the vehicle, there's something called obsolescence. Every asset has got an economic lifetime. A long time ago, if you bought a Mercedes-Benz, the old Mercedes-Benz trucks with a long nose like this, it had a 20-year economic life. These days, because manufacturers want to always be producing a newer vehicle every other day, it has got 5 to 8 year economic life. So if you get a truck and you're using it and you're pushing it and you're sweating the asset, within 5 or 6 years, it has already surpassed its economic life. But if you own it, now you have to start thinking about how to dispose it. Then you wonder, am I supposed to be selling vehicles, or am I supposed to be focusing on my manufacturing? Leasing removes that obsolescence management from you. So at the end of the lease, there are many options. But if you want to end that lease because those vehicles you feel have become too old and you want a new one, at the end of the lease, you return the vehicles to the lessor, and then you sign a new contract for new assets.
But Bosire, you're still spending money on these assets.
Of course.
Right?
Yes.
So apart from that administrative headache, because it sounds like, there's an administrative headache, you don't have to have a transport manager who thinks, gari meisha insurance, or you need to go for service, you need to do this and the other. Apart from that, you're still spending money every month on this. You're fueling the vehicle, and also you are paying the lease on a monthly, quarterly, whatever contractual terms you have. So are you saying the only benefit that we are really deriving out of this is removal of that administrative headache?
No, there are also financial benefits.
Okay.
So, for example, for example, if you take a loan and you're buying an asset, in your P&L, there's what we call the expense items.
What is a P&L?
The profit and loss statement.
Okay.
There's what we call the expense items. So you've got your income, and then your expenses, and you get your gross profit. So in the case of a loan, only the interest portion of the loan is expensed. But in the case of a leased asset, the whole rental is expensed. Therefore, you've got tax benefits. Okay? And then, of course, the lease rentals generally are slightly, let's say 15-20% lower than if you had gone for a loan in terms of the payment. Okay? So there's a buy-off there where you've got the rentals are slightly lower than what you'd pay if you had gone for a loan. Last but not least, remember this more often than not, you will not inject any money. So you save the money that you'd have injected if you're going for a loan that given you 20% or 80% or 50% financing to use in other things in your business.
So what are we talking about here? Length and breadth of things that you can actually do with asset leasing, because you try to imagine, okay, so it's just a service that you're providing in terms of your business. We're essentially saying that there's I'm assuming, and you can stop me, that there's nothing that you really can't then lease. We go from office space to vehicles to shelves to, if we're looking at hospitality, beds, linen, crockery, all kinds of things. Are we saying that we've gotten to the space whereby essentially all you need to do is turn up with your people and your expertise and plug and play and go?
That is a very good question. Yes. So there's no asset which cannot be leased. There's none. Land, buildings, laptops, your machinery here, your cameras, furniture. In fact, we have got a good example. One of these MNCs in town here, they have 7-story. Multinational corporations. They have a 7-story headquarters, and everything, including the carpet, including the partitioning of the wall, is leased.
What?
Everything, PABX, laptops, name it, they are leased. So leasing has no parameters that you can only lease asset 1 and asset 2. For as long as the asset has got economic value, you can lease it. Because at the end of the day, you're just simply paying a small consideration every month or every quarter, and then using the asset to derive revenue for yourself, especially for a business. So even on the personal front, in more advanced markets, your phone, why would you want to buy an iPhone, I don't know what, which after 2 years is obsolete? You just lease it.
Yes,
in the Western world,
I'm listening to you. I started listening to you with Lori. Okay.
Yeah.
The terms you seem to be applying are either accounting terms or financial terms, because if we all subscribed to it, these ancient vehicles we see on the road would not exist. There's a certain category of business in this town. Garbage collection.
Yeah,
it's like a requirement for that business that the vehicle,
the oldest,
not
runs
just
on 3
oldest,
wheels.
ugliest,
smoking.
You actually wonder what on when you that
those and breakdowns.
Yes, they form. They actually garbage. The vehicles themselves are garbage. Yes, exactly. So, and then when it comes to vehicles, you find vehicles that you might say might not be on the road, but they're on the road and they're doing the thing. So yes, I understand book value, all these lovely financial accounting terms, but for us, even when you talk about loss of value, you may not value it, somebody else will value it. You will find someone who will value it. And every time I go to the rural areas, I'm reminded of that simple fact. And it's something as small as this plastic water bottle that we throw away. It barely touches the ground, somebody has picked it up.
Yeah, definitely.
And they have use for it.
Yeah.
So when you say leasing, it is lovely to be in a place like the way we are in, but then it explains to me why it is. Perhaps we import very many second-hand vehicles.
Yes, that is what I wanted to actually, your point is very right. So the Kenyan situation is a bit complicated because there are other factors which make people want to have an asset for 200 years.
Yes.
One is this obsession with us Kenyans or Africans in general of ownership. This pen is mine. This pen, I bought it with my own money. We are obsessed with that notion of ownership.
Yangu.
No, wait, me, I don't understand obsession, but it's mine. Why? I'm not obsessed. It's mine.
So that is
I mean, so every time I lay claim to my property, I'm obsessed.
Of course, when you go around and well, I know you understand what I'm saying. So, but apart from that, also, like I said, we have also got what we call rules and regulations. So, for example, what the government is trying to introduce now, where vehicles have to go for inspection, whether they are commercial or passenger vehicles, is critical because that leads to something else. That leads to a situation where then you'll put a cap and say, if, for example, your vehicle is more than 7 years old, you need to be paying a certain amount of money every year. What that negates is
why?
Because the vehicle is
on the road,
it's polluting. It's all sorts of
what?
things.
It's using more space on the road.
No, it's polluting the environment.
Making
it's
noise,
a disaster.
I drive an old car. That's why I'm asking you this.
Slowing down traffic.
So you get end to pay. So what this happens is when you get to that point, you have to decide: would I rather let go of this vehicle and get a new one, or not?
Okay.
Brings you a new headache.
Yes. Not really a headache. It's very simple. So now that is solved by leasing. So in more advanced markets, what happens is when you go to the dealer, they offer you the option of buying or leasing. But they make the leasing more attractive. Of course, because it has got all these parameters that are coming along with it, insurance and service and maintenance, etc. Then I bought this Mercedes-Benz S380. In another 4 years, there's going to be a newer version. And because I want to always be driving the latest vehicle, why don't I just take the lease for 4 years? When the newer version comes, my lease will have come to an end. I take it back to the dealer. They sort it out. They give me a new one on a new contract. So in Kenya, if we don't have that aspect of putting parameters in terms of how long your vehicle can be on the road, then we have that problem where you have all these old vehicles on the road without being any consequence. Secondly, for example, for the one for the garbage, I understand them because where they take the garbage is the issue. You might go there with a brand new vehicle and then you come out without the tires.
You don't come out.
So if you had very organized waste disposal systems, then it would
you have
be easy.
to drive a scary vehicle.
You have to scare them, so they run away fast, and you dump your garbage. And so there are many factors which come along to play here, which then now slow down that progress of ensuring that people are always willing to invest in, whether by leasing or by buying, into newer assets.
Question. We're going to break.
Let's take a break. Come back with more questions. Bosire Mogonko is an asset leasing finance expert. He's also country director at a company called Redcore. We are talking about asset leasing finance and just trying to understand this. It's catching on in Kenya. And there are very many businesses that are moving that way. So we are talking about now here asset leasing. Last year in December, we were talking about office space leasing, and then just saying, just come into a space that's already plug and play for you. It's done for you. Before that, we talked to another person who had said, I actually offer staff. So instead of just you focusing, your job is broadcasting, you're SpiceFM. Why do you need cleaners? Why do you need security? Why do you need... You can lease those. Next, my friend, Ataingo Nava
to the lease.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Is safety your top priority when traveling in a taxi? Look no further. Introducing the Maramoja Taxi app, the safest and most convenient way to get around town. Whether you're headed to work, a night out, or just running errands, Maramoja Taxi app has you covered. With Maramoja Taxi app, every time you top up your wallet, you get 50% more. What are you waiting for? Download the Maramoja Taxi app and use the code SPICE30 to get 30% discount on your next ride. Ride smart with Maramoja Taxi app. Maramoja ni yetu.
Okay, a few minutes after 9:30, coming to the end of traffic hour. What's still going on here? On Thika Superhighway, coming towards the Pangani Tunnel, that is still going to be there for some time, obviously. Gong Road was pretty busy this morning. I was still seeing some of that inbound and outbound, interestingly enough. People heading out from Gong Town, something going on we don't know about. Are you coming off of Limuru Road? You're all right. As you get to City Park and then out to the CBD, it's moving. A bit of hold up here and there, but more or less okay for now. Haile Selassie is still busy. Parts of Jogo Road, busy as well. And then Mombasa Road is doing ebbing and flowing this morning. It's been a crazy morning on Mombasa Road. We're looking at traffic now right around that turn off into... Nairobi West, coming off from the other junction going to South Sea. So that's looking at about the end of it for now. Let's talk through the morning on SpiceFM KE on X.
Business News with SpiceFM.
I'm Dennis Aseto. Kenya's private sector activities improved last month as new data shows at a time when the inflation rate fell. The latest Stanbic Bank Kenya Purchasing Managers Index improved to 48.8 from 45.8 in November 2023, whereas a reading above 50.0 signals growth in business activities. A reading below it indicates contraction. In the month of December last year, Kenya's inflation dropped to 6.6%, down from 6.8%, according to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. The Kenya shilling was among the worst performing currencies on the continent last year, data compiled by Bloomberg shows. The finding placed the Kenyan currency at number 7 in Africa after shedding 20.9% against the American dollar. However, the Nigerian naira plunged the steepest, having depreciated by 55%. The Malawian national currency depreciated by 39.1%, while its Zambian counterpart followed at 29.5% in depreciation. A total of 20,000 housing units will be built at Changamwe in Mombasa by the National Housing Corporation. The houses will sit on 60 acres of land, comprising 10,000 affordable, 4,000 social and 6,000 cheap market houses. The estate will include schools, a sports complex, access to clean water, electricity, sanitation, and other integrated amenities. Kakuzi unionizable employees will be rewarded with a 16% wage increment following the signing of an updated collective bargaining agreement with the Kenya Plantation and Agricultural Workers Union. More than 3,350 workers at its Makuyu operation site will benefit from the wage hike for the next 2 years, effective January, under the new CBA agreement. Kakuzi Managing Director Chris Flowers said the firm will continue to prioritize the welfare of its human capital by providing quality working conditions, rewards and benefits. Stationery manufacturers Epson has transitioned fully to renewable energy to power its operations. The shift covers its entire global network, including Kenya and Japan. This, the company says, will scale down its annual carbon emissions by about 400,000 metric tons. It maintains that the switch to renewable electricity is a crucial step towards achieving its goal of becoming carbon negative and eliminating the use of underground resources by 2050. For Spice Business, I'm Dennis Aseto.
SpiceFM Business. Mature, intelligent talk every morning.
All right.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
He's an asset leasing finance expert, country director at Rentco City. You had a question before we break.
Yes, you see this issue, there's what you call the reality or ground, okay? A vehicle, by its very nature, for example, loses in value every day you use it. That's why it's supposed to cost less. But that doesn't quite happen in this country. You'll find, for instance, when you talk about imported vehicles, and someone tells you, okay, in Kenya, they don't talk about the new car, they talk, it's a new registration. So you're actually buying the registration. That's what's new.
That's correct.
Okay?
It's a KDH.
It's a KDH. But the car is as ancient as time. But what it means, somebody somewhere who follows the rules that you're saying has understood 3 years down the line here. A 3-year-old car here.
It's a new one.
It can't get, that thing is new. Okay?
Yeah.
Now.
It's a 2021.
Now, the concept that you are referring to is an excellent concept. But it is attached to another concept that is sometimes difficult to comply with. It's called repayment. Repayment involves a certain assurance, level of assurance of a steady income. Okay? Now, in an economy such as this one, it gets really genuinely tricky and hairy. Okay? Now, people who are in the business, such as the one you're in, the question I want to ask is, do you take enough time to explain to the people who come to you and you do business with what to do in times of distress? Because it seems to be, the understanding is you will be paying because things are good. Now, what if things are not good? What if you didn't plan and somebody in the industry you work in has gone belly up, or it has issues that are beyond your control, and suddenly you're not able to manage, or you're not able to live up to the details of your obligations? What do you do? Do you take the time to be able to tell your clients and your partners in your business what to do and how they should go about it?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So basically in Kenya, a lot of the leasing is not to individuals. It is to corporates or the government. Corporates and government have their legal departments. So at the onset of the lease, even before you sign anything, there's a bunch of documents which is sent to their legal department. They need to go through that and come back with any questions, concerns that they find in the contract. So there are situations where they have come back with one or two things that have actually been changed in the contract. Therefore, for in our case, it's a lot easier because most companies do not go into any contract without their legal team going through all the contracts that need to be signed or agreements. So we negate that fact that nobody knew how to manage a situation where the economy has gone down or there's war or whatever. Also in the contracts, there's what we call force majeure, which encompasses or envisions certain situations taking place, and therefore how that contract can be exited. So where I find a problem in what you have described is in more individual loaning, for example. So individuals, when they go to the bank to get a loan to buy a car, they rarely take their time to to read what is written in the contract. Well, you can say also that it's a responsibility of the financer to educate or at least discuss some of those fine items. But when you get into a contract of something, aren't you concerned about you being on the negative side, if there's any, and how you're going to manage yourself in that situation? That's my challenge to most people. So we need to take our time before we get into anything to understand everything. And even if the other person doesn't tell you, the last time I checked, Kenya has got one of the highest literacy rates in Africa. Why? We went to school. Why did we go to school? To understand things, to question, to challenge, and say, change this, change that, or I feel this is too harsh. Then I say, okay, this thing is too tough. No, I'm not signing it.
Let me give you a parallel.
Yes.
This thing of seeking to understand this thing so that you understand the problems that may occur.
Yeah.
We are fast catching up with the West with the rates of divorces in this country. Would you say people are ill-informed before they get into marriage? That they haven't been given all the details that they need?
Yes. And I will answer that very categorically. Yes. I will answer that very categorically. In fact, next, you need to invite me for the next one as now a marriage counselor. The fact of the matter is...
marriage. Okay, sorry.
Now that we have diverted a little bit. The fact of the matter is most people get into marriage because of love. I call it infatuation. You're just seeing yourself, the girl or the boy, through blue glasses. They look immaculate. Have you been through them when they are their worst? So when you go signing that contract in front of church, God, I don't know, God knows who, are you sure? The same way you're talking about the loan, you don't know whether in a few years you'll have lost your job. Are you sure that this thing is going to last the whole time? Are you sure that when this guy loses his job, you're going to hang in there and say, this is my husband, so let me just support him because we are married, etc. The fact of the matter is most people don't understand the nitty-gritty that is in a marriage process. They don't. Why? Because the elders in the community have abdicated their duty to teach their children what goes. It's okay. In fact, you look at the wedding, guys come dressed to kill. But they all know.
Is that not what we are supposed to do?
Half of them are divorced. Those people who are there, half of them are divorced.
And they're not telling you.
They're not telling you that some of these things are difficult. How do you manage situations? Your husband, your wife has cheated. How do you manage that situation?
You've gotten to the heart of the matter. Why I asked you the question is I was relating to something that we consider very important and something which we actually consider one of the most important decisions we make in our lives. So are we saying that we are a society that don't bother to do due diligence even on the very things that are most important to us? And when you bring in the issue of the abdication of duty of the so-called elders, that's precisely the point. People already have the experience and know coming in. You have the experience in leasing. I don't. I know what I need. That experience of leasing, it is you who has it. So surely, who is the duty bearer? I have a duty, yes, but surely, don't you think you're shirking your duty just like those elders?
But I give you a contract which is written down. Does the elder give me a contract showing me what is in marriage?
Yes, the contract.
No, he doesn't.
The contract is the person that you're seeing.
He doesn't.
That's
No.
the contract. That's
Basically,
not at all.
Basically, the leasing company should do a lot more in terms of educating people. So this is the positive. This is the negative. These are the red flags. These are the pitfalls. This is how to navigate around that. And should you get into such a situation, this is how we can walk the journey with you on that other side.
So generally that's what all leasing companies do.
Okay.
So
Really?
but, yes, they do.
They do?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, if the leasing deals usually take quite a long time. And most of that time is because of the nitty-gritty of what is in the contracts. So many customers raise issues about what's in the contract, and you have a discussion about it.
So who gets the short end of the stick here when it comes to these agreements? I know you won't say everybody's balanced, everybody takes some equal share, but what I guess the broader question is, what would be some of the disadvantages here?
Well, the disadvantages of leasing, of course, would be just maybe centered around ownership. If you want to own the asset, that's a different conversation. I think maybe what I should have said at the beginning was there are two forms of leases. There's something called an operating lease, and now called a finance lease. So the operating lease predicates only utilization, and therefore at the end of the lease, the asset is returned back to the lessor. To the lessor to do whatever they want to do with it. The finance lease is predicated on ownership at the end of the lease term.
It's a rent to own.
Yes, it's like a rent to own.
Okay.
So there are two ways that happens for the companies that do the finance lease. They'll either build what we call a residual value into the payments, monthly payments that you make over that period, so that at the end of the term, the asset is transferred to the person who was leasing, or there's a pre-agreed residual value that this person will pay at the end. So they pay these monthly payments until this point, and then at this end, there's a bullet payment that they pay for them to get ownership. So,
of the two types, which is more popular in Kenya? Which one is? Because we are seeing that this is a new way that businesses are now actually looking at. This is a way to go. Which is the more popular one?
The more popular
operating lease or the financing lease?
The finance lease is one which is more popular because of still ownership. There's that still aspect of ownership. But now us and a few other leasing companies are driving people towards the operating lease aspect. Yeah, and that's why at the onset it was easier to sell that concept to corporates and the government, because then they understand they don't need to own the asset. They just need to utilize the asset over a period of time. Then they let it off and get a new deal.
What's the benefit to you as the leasing company when someone picks up the operating lease instead of the finance lease?
For me, there's no advantage, because what happens is so a leasing company can get its asset in two forms. One, it can have its own internal funds, which is goes and buys the asset and leases to the customer. Then there's something called a leveraged leasing. Leveraged leasing is where I go to the bank, and then the bank gives me 90% financing. Then I have to top up the 10%, because when I go to the OEM, I have to pay them in full for them to be able to lease the asset to me. So this financing is both debt, 90% from the bank, then equity, which is 10%, which is the leasing company's contribution. Okay. So at the end of the operating lease, you see, a leasing company's job is not to have assets sitting somewhere. Their job is to facilitate companies or individuals to be able to get an asset. At the end of the lease, for me to be able to recoup this 10%, I have to dispose of the asset, right? And at fair market value.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that their fair market value will be more than this 10% that I invested. And therefore, I make my small margin there. But in the course of the 4 years, because it's leveraged, the rentals that come from the customer are used to offset the facility
of the 90%.
The bank that gave us. So ideally, leasing companies are what we call residual value investors. Yeah, especially the operating ones. If they don't have their own internal funds, which of course many people will not have their own internal funds, because you can understand, for example, the government through the NPS and TNT, the National Treasury and National Police.
The National Treasury.
Yes, in 2012, 2013, when the leasing project started, the police force was running around 2,300 vehicles. As we speak now, they're running almost 6,500, 7,000 vehicles through the lease, which is that's the other advantage I wanted to explain. You see, if you've got a budget, let's say for buying vehicles over a period of time, 4 years, but your requirement is you can buy 200 over the 4-year period, yeah? So your requirement is actually all the 800. It's only that you don't have the budget. That monthly budget here, or that yearly budget here, to buy the 200 that you can buy here.
The first year.
Yes. You can use this money to lease the 800 units.
At the same time.
At the same time here, at the onset.
Okay.
Now remember, this budget that you used in the first year, you haven't included your insurance, you haven't included your service and maintenance, you haven't included all these other things. But that money, when you use it for leasing, first of all, you can get all these vehicles at the onset. Then secondly, because it's a bundled service, it also includes those other services that require. So it means that now for the next 4 years, even if you don't get any more vehicles, you have reached your capacity from the onset. You're not incrementally increasing your capacity. So if I can give an example, for example, for the GOK, between 2013 and 2021, there was a research that was done. Just from the police leasing, crime rates went down by 40%. Why? Because now there was no excuse that there is no vehicle available. Because this leasing for the government, not only does it have service and maintenance, they also get a fuel card.
I was going to ask about that.
Which is which is now negotiated between the National Treasury and the fuel marketers.
Yeah.
So the vehicle that is in Lokichogio, for as long as there is that station around there, they have no reason. They have no fuel. The other thing that they did was, in the government contract, they said no vehicle of the police will travel more than 50 kilometers to do service and maintenance. So what does that force the OEMs to do? They have to have a service center close to as many police stations as possible, lest they get fined.
Yes.
For the vehicle going beyond 50
kilometers.
So you can imagine places like Mandera, which had never seen a service station, now have got a service station that is a Toyota service station, a Nissan service station, a CMC service station, because now these guys could not be able to open the service station by themselves there. So they collaborate with the locals there. Somebody at the garage.
Yeah.
So they come to the garage, they upgrade the garage to a certain level, and therefore creating employment. There's now that whole market becomes busy. Even the people there are confident of buying new vehicles because they know there's a certified garage or service center around. So there are many advantages to it. And I think for the lease, just like a loan, your only risk is if you're not able to fulfill your financial obligation. Of course, then the lessor, in case of a lease, or the bank, in case of a loan, has to come and secure the asset.
Yeah.
Because the asset is the security of the lease
of the contract.
or the loan of the contract. Yeah. Okay. Without it, then it means that they are losing.
Okay.
Right.
So, wait. Essentially, you're a middleman.
We're an aggregator.
Okay, you're an aggregator middleman. The reason why I asked the question is because you don't own the vehicles. In some places,
no, we own the vehicles. We own the vehicles because, remember, I explained to you
you own the vehicles.
Yes, the vehicle is mine as a leasing company.
Good. Then if you own the vehicle, where do you get the vehicles from? How do you get the vehicles?
So remember I explained to you the leverage lease.
Yes.
So if I come to you and you've got a company and you want 10 trucks, I will ask you what trucks do you want. You'll tell me Sino, you'll tell me FAO, you'll tell me Isuzu, whichever. I will go to that company. I'll get a quote for buying those 10.
Yes.
Now, based on this quote, I'll prepare for you a monthly rental fee to be paying me when I lease the vehicle to you. If we are agreeable, then it's my responsibility to look for funds to be able to acquire these assets. So if I've got the money, I'll just go and buy the vehicles and I lease them to you. But because we want to increase the capacity of the leasing company to be able to serve more customers, my money, I will say, I've got 10%. Why can't I go to the bank and they give me 90%? So I get a loan of the value of 90%, for example. I invest 10%. I go to Isuzu, for example, if I picked Isuzu, I pay them their money. They give me my trucks. My truck, because it's on a loan, is registered under me and the bank that gave me the loan. Then I come and lease the vehicles to you. You pay me your monthly rental.
You pay your loan obligation.
That monthly rental, I have to make sure that it can be able to do what? Offset my facility.
And
then at the end of the lease, in an operating lease is which we're operating, if you don't want the asset, it's finished, you don't want to extend, then you return the asset to me. Now it's my responsibility to find out how I'm going to dispose of it.
Okay.
To recoup my 10% investment, remember, I paid this deposit here.
Yes, but this car will require servicing.
Yes.
You're not a garage.
No.
So is that part of the arrangement you have with the place where you get the vehicle
yes.
from?
That's why I called it a bundle service. So the bundle service means I'm providing for you all these services.
Yes.
It means I have already have an agreement
negotiated to have those services provided.
Yes. So when you get the truck, the day it's supposed to have service and have service is included in the cost, you just take it to Isuzu.
Okay.
And then I deal with Isuzu.
Okay.
They'll just tell me truck X has come, blah blah. Here's an invoice. I pay Isuzu. You just take the truck there, it's serviced, gone.
What do you do with vehicles that are returned?
We have to dispose of them. Because remember, we have to recoup our 10% that we invested and then look for something else to do. So what happens is, at the end of an operating lease, the lessee has got several options. One, if they feel the asset is still economically viable, they can extend the lease. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. To continue using the asset. Second, they say, no, this asset has become too old. I need a new assets and a new lease. So they return the asset. And then we sign a new contract for new vehicles. The third option is they can return the asset, but they say, for example, it's these multinationals, for example, they have leased Subaru Foresters, for example. Then they say, I think we have got some long-standing employees here. We can
sell it off to them.
Yes. No, we can give them as
gifts.
So they come, they negotiate, they say, okay, this lease has ended, but we'd like to retain
the vehicle.
Can you give us a price? So as we'll go to the market, we get a fair market value, tell them, if you want to retain those vehicles, these are the money you're going to buy it with. So they buy off the asset. Then they do whatever they want
to do. This arrangement that you have, does it just refer to the vehicle, or can the vehicle come with the drivers?
So in more advanced markets, it can come, that bundle can include as many services as possible.
We haven't got there yet.
No, we haven't.
Why not?
Because first of all, and we are going to get there because of what he said. Now the employee has become like an asset. Therefore, they can be leased out. So more and more companies are coming up where they are giving even drivers or whatever employee on a lease basis. Let me put that in quotes, on a lease basis. So you just pay a monthly fee over a period of time. You've hired that guy for 3 years, but that guy is an employee of that company.
Organization, yeah.
So we're getting there. It can even come with a fuel card. The only problem with the fuel card is in Kenya, the fuel is not very stable in terms of pricing. So you'd rather the lessee handles that.
They deal with it.
They deal with it because the fluctuation is too much. Sometimes it goes up by 30%. Then so all those services can be bundled into a lease and provided to the customer. And with due course, we're going to get there for sure.
Why? I'm telling you, this is just eye-opening for business. You think about starting a business and then you're thinking, how much do I need in terms of capital expenditure? And all that headache can be removed when you get into business. You lease very many of these services and you start your business.
That's for sure.
It's a way to go. Thank you very much, Bosire, for joining us today.
You're most welcome.
Bosire Bogonko is an asset leasing finance expert, a country director at RentCo. Thank you very much for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation today. It's been a Justice Thursday conversation with the LSK Vice President and Professor Kibwana, and now again, business conversation. Tomorrow is Health Friday. We will have more conversations. Have a lovely day. Enjoy yourselves. It's now 10 a.m.